Okay, well, we don't have enough to make a quorum, so I'm gonna wait a minute.
Sure.
Just hold on a minute, okay, Tim? And James,
Hi there. How's everybody?
we're gonna wait for a quorum. Everybody's running a little late.
It's over at Kristen's house, I guess.
Oh, yeah? More?
Have workers there every day.
I know. It's
And the
amazing.
inspector was there this afternoon. I heard the little beep, 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 and I looked out the window thinking there was a movie from city inspector.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
running.
Ooh, is that?
Kristen didn't move in yet?
No, Kristen, I think, is in Brittany's house.
That's good. Okay.
All right.
We're-
Hey, David.
Hey, Brockton.
All
All right, so we have enough to make quorum, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. It's July 14th, 2026, 15th, I'm sorry. Oh, I signed the 14th today, all day at 6:33. Yeah, so, okay. All right, so call to order, establish quorum, proof of notice, good and welfare. All right. Okay. Does anyone want to say anything? I can't see who's online, Ro.
David, Jim, and James. That's it.
David, Jim, and James. Okay.
I have my hand up. Can you see my hand?
I can.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, by the way, I timed this. It's less than 3 minutes.
Perfect.
Looking forward
to it.
Okay, at the last board meeting, a resident who attended the meeting in person at the clubhouse had some criticisms and questions concerning the contract with Sports Services. He stated that the contract should never have been signed that required 50% of signing. In addition, he asked why there were no performance clauses in the contract. There was a lengthy discussion about the need for specifications in order to have an apples-to-apples comparison with various contractors. He also asked about the legal review of the contract. He asked if Brittany relied on board members that are sitting on the board that have legal expertise, or did Brittany rely on outside independent counsel, or was it a combination of both? Brittany stated, and I quote, "Yeah, it's a combination." Well, I spoke to Larry Schneer, our HOA attorney, and asked him if he had reviewed the contract. He stated that he did not review the contract. So, Brittany, how could it be a combination of both an internal and external review if it was not reviewed by outside counsel. The second item that I have is who co-signed the check for $122K to Sports Services. Melissa said she provided the check image to Mark, and Mark said the image was given to Brittany and David. I spoke to Richard Lehman, and he said that he never saw or approved the contract, and he did not approve the payment. So, David, did you approve the payment? The third item that I have is the number of bids received for the Padel Court. David stated at the last meeting, and this is a quote, "It's just not accurate to say we didn't have 3 bids. We had probably 7. David, I had previously asked to see the 3 bids for Padel Court. However, I only saw the 2 bids from Sports Services and Armor Court. Fast Strike Courts was only an estimate as described as such on the Excel spreadsheet. If you now say that you have 7 bids for the Padel Court, I'd like to see them." Last paragraph. In my opinion, the board needs to practice more honesty, integrity, and transparency. It's time for you to stop accusing me of spreading misinformation and to finally admit that mistakes were made, including the facts that our HO attorney did not review the contract, the board did not review and approve the contract before it was signed, and there were only 2 bids for the Padel Court, not 3, and certainly not 7. David, can you provide me with copies of the 7 bids for the Padel Court? So I would like to have answers to my 3 questions. Thank you. That's all I have.
Sounds great. You're going to get more than you bargained for. So I'm sorry to bore everyone with this for 11 minutes, but that's how long mine's going to take. I'd like to set the record straight once and for all, and then never talk about this again. To prepare for what I assumed would be Jim's 3-minute missive, I reviewed every set of board meetings for the past 6 years. I listened to the complete audio for May, June, and July of 2025. I was present for those meetings the first time. Listening to them all again is a fate I would not wish upon anyone else. But I'm going to walk you through the chronology and quote directly from the recordings, including from cheerful Jim Trunzo and Jim Grunza himself. I happen to be able to see during the video recordings them leering at us while we read these and had these discussions live. We'll do it again now. Jim Grunza, you attended every relevant meeting. I have screenshots, and I'm going to show some of them as I'm done with this speech, of you looking on as we reviewed all of these bids. Jim Trunzo is his partner in complaint, at least in this episode, was present and extremely active in these discussions and asked many of the questions that you now raise for the 11th time. May 21, 2025, our board meeting. In May, the board publicly presented basketball, padel, and pickleball proposals. It was contained in a spreadsheet with 3 separate tabs. 4, actually. Basketball, pickle, padel, and putting, which was another thing that we had explored doing. There were more than 3 bids for each of these categories. Tim screen shared marked up maps from Google Earth, walked through each of these spreadsheet tabs. Ken Hine presented proposals and discussed results of in-person meetings and site meetings, and then we discussed the differences among all the proposals. This was not a situation where 3 vendors submitted identical packages for an identical project. We collected at first 3 or more proposals for paddle, pickleball, and basketball in isolation. Some vendors performed certain types of work, but not others. Some could build padel, but not basketball, and vice versa. Some could perform construction, but excluded demolition, such as armor courts. Some included lighting, fencing, site work, while others left those items open. The challenge was to identify the vendor capable of delivering the best combination of work at the best overall price, not merely circle the lowest number appearing on one spreadsheet cell, as you appear to do in many of your emails to the community. Trunzo complained about that a detailed specification had not been sent to every bidder. To clarify, the relevant specifications included court dimensions, number of basketball hoops, slab types, surface materials, fencing, lighting, demolition, and other physical requirements. These requirements were discussed with the vendors, and Tim Carey explained that in great detail if you'd like to go back and watch. Now, I'm going to quote for you from a discussion we had there. We were only able to get 3 quotes on pickleball. Quote, May 21st. We walked the property and made sure that the dimensions and what was needed was all made very clear with one-on-one interviews or walking the property with each of these people. Both Ken and I went out there with these guys. I met with everyone. They know what the scope is. That's not to say the scope can't be further refined when we document it and do a scope of work when we're making our final decision. but these aren't what's necessary to proceed with the conversation. These were direct quotes from Tim Carey. The lowest headline number was not automatically the best proposal. Armor Court, which Jim Grunza asked about, appeared dramatically cheaper because it was not comparable to complete proposals. How do we know this? We did the work. We asked. We went back and forth and iterated on the proposals. Specifically, that meeting identified discussion where they had 4-foot fencing, where 8-foot fencing was required, demolition that was excluded and not offered at a fixed price, an unresolved question about base rock and grading requirements, and additional material billed by the ton when we should have had budget certainty about it. The board also discussed the risk of splitting demolition and construction between vendors only to have them blame one another. So now what Grunza portrays as an inexplicable failure to choose one vendor that was supposedly more than 100,000 cheaper, that was discussed at the time. The quote looked cheaper because it wasn't the same quote. Now, after Trunzo did some typical complaining, Tim Carey said, "Are you volunteering to put out another RFP on all these terms?" No response. "Are you volunteering to do the rest of the work here and get this done?" Jim Trunzo, "No, I'm not." That exchange deserves a conclusion. Trunzo would not perform the work himself while sitting on the board, but now he and Jim Grunza demand the current board hop into a time machine, return to May 2025, rehash the entire discussion, and perform work that they refused to do at the time, much of which Ken, Tim, me, and the rest of the board had already done multiple times. This sounds fun, right? If the process was their real concern, we hear about IBM a lot. Why does Trunzo refuse to own it when he had the authority to do so as a board member, and with Jim Grunza as a member of the finance committee who attends every one of these? It's curious, isn't it? May 21st, the board unanimously approved basketball and padel for an amount not to exceed $195,000. Again, basketball and padel. The board then separately authorized adding 2 pickleball courts if that component could be negotiated for no more than an additional $50,000. The combined authorization, as we've talked about, was $245,000. At the June meeting, the board approved the May minutes containing those motions. Trunzo voted against approving those minutes because of some nitpicky comment about Jason. He plainly knew the minutes existed, knew what they said, and had an opportunity to object to their description. I listened to what he objected to. This was not it. No one could credibly claim this was buried or forgotten. In July, Tim expressly reminded everyone of the prior authorization and reported the result of vendor follow-up because, following what Jim Trunzo said about specifications, we went back to see who could get the best price, what vendor could potentially do 2 or all 3 of these things. Now, Tim, direct quote, July 16th, 2025. 2 meetings ago, we approved a budget of $245,000 based on some bids we had. Recently, David and I have had discussions with sports services. They came in with the best quote by a pretty substantial margin. This is an hour and 45 minutes and 31 seconds into that call, if you'd like to go back. The board then disclosed that the impact glass, which they believed would be required by the city at the time, would add an approximately $45,000 to the bid, and pickleball lighting could add $17,000. This would lead to a total unexpected increase of approximately $60,000. Tim said, "We needed to hit pause. We needed a better plan. We're putting pause on the pickleball because we don't know what we can fit there and how we want to lay it out." Tim then screen shared a marked up property map, showed exactly where the basketball and padel courts would go, made clear that's what was happening, discussed the placement, sidewalks, easements, surrounding space, and room for possible expansion. This was not a vague reference buried in a long board meeting. It was plain, it was on the screen for 30 minutes, and it was discussed. Grunza and Trunzo were present and asked questions. Tim concluded, "I think we have a plan in place for the location and what we'll do. So I don't think we need a vote or anything. It's already been approved." Then, before the panel weight theory came to Jim, one of the Jim's always insightful commentary, including, what if it's too hot for people to play padel? I was really encouraged to hear that again, as if we don't have 6 outdoor tennis courts occupied every day in the same Florida heat. Then came the panel weight claim. Trunzo asserted individual panels weighed 1,000 pounds and that an end panel might weigh more than a ton. Of course, now he contradicts this by about 50% in his recent emails. The board then explained that representatives, not including him, had personally visited Addison Reserve and Boca Grove with Ken Hine and discussed how those communities handled the panels. I'll quote from Tim. David and I actually went to a bunch of these neighborhoods that have them now. We went to Boca Grove, we went to Addison Reserve, we called others. He said, Jim, look it up. If you have a complaint, don't tell us to look it up. You go do the work. You bring it to us. If you have a complaint, we've done the research. You can come prepared. Information found during the meeting indicated a panel weighed between 300 and 400 pounds, not 1,000. Jim Trunzo further protested, what about the takedown and setup of these panels? Tim said, if this is something it comes to, it's a few $1,000s a year as a contract, Jim. We don't know how many storms we'll have, so I don't know an exact amount. So all of this was discussed a year ago. Let me continue. The community received another written update in November 2025 discussing padel and basketball in the minutes. No pickle. Following the July clarification and screen share, pickleball was no longer part of these plans. In January 2026, the minutes state, Tim Carey gave an update on the padel and basketball court. The same minutes state, Jim Grunza gave an update on the finance committee. So Jim Grunza was not only present, the official minutes record his participation. In February 2026, the minutes contain a unanimous site improvement motion, including, quote, the padel and basketball landscaping. Again, padel and basketball. At the April 2026 annual meeting, Tim stood 5 feet from Jim Grunza and gave an update on the padel process. Again, weird. We never heard anything about it until the board changed. So why do we not take this sideline heckling seriously? Well, first they say, we're not against padel. They say, once pushed back on that, they say, no. Padel should just not come before other spending priorities here. And then when we say, well, which specific project do you believe was sacrificed in zero-sum fashion to fund padel? They fall silent because they cannot identify one because it did not happen. Then the objection changes again. The board supposedly acted without authorization. I think I just put that one to bed. The board ratified the prior action in the most recent meeting to eliminate any conceivable ambiguity about this and quiet the noise. Didn't work. We should have known better. Ratification is an interesting technique, and in my 6-year review of the binders on the ground in my office, I saw Jim Grunza employed it roughly a dozen times through the minutes and years, and the same people he served with on the board. That's still not enough, and we heard a little bit about it from Jim, and I'm glad he brought it up. They went hunting through official records requests. What people like Jim Trunzo filed FOIA requests. That's a Freedom of Information Act request. It's the most work he's probably done in the past year on the board, but he wasn't on the board when he did it. What did he find? Nothing interesting because he hasn't brought it up. Jim Grunza just told us how he's hunting down who the signatories on the check were. Richard Lehman, who he demanded resign from the board because he wasn't happy with his performance as treasurer, he's now presenting his word as gospel. Jim, to answer your question, it very well may have been me who signed it, but I'm not going to go dig to figure it out. Have at it, have a fun treasure hunt. It doesn't matter. This is not enough. Nothing is enough. Lurking through the record so you could unveil a name in a pre-written script as some supposedly dramatic gotcha, and no one wants to hear it. So let me ask you a few questions. Why avoid asking the people involved? I know you asked Richard. Why didn't you ask me? Why didn't you ask Tim? Did you want to wait for a recorded board meeting to surprise us? Why consume our staff's time? Campbell Management, who we brought on, who you advocated bringing on, by the way, why waste their time digging through records when they could be working for our community for a question that could be answered directly? Same question for you, Trunzo. If these were your real concerns, if these weren't them, what were they? What's your aim here? Ask yourself, and I hope everybody else in the neighborhood does too. The only reason that I could see is that a direct answer would ruin your ambush. This is not an oversight. It's theater. As I've said multiple times, it's a gotcha game carried out through records requests and wasting our time. So after all that searching, the facts do not support your feelings. And now everyone has to listen to this monologue because you refuse to accept answers already given. And I'm under no illusion you're not going to send another page-long email about this, but we won't be talking about it again. And then finally, when the board says enough is enough, you complain about defamation. and quit the finance committee in a huff of rage. These are the same people that are going to run for the board again during the next election, and I implore the community to listen to this and see what's going on. When they do, and when an email comes, I will send this recording to the community. I will send timestamp records of these conversations, and you can dig in accordingly. So just to reframe, what are we talking about? After stripping away all the shifting objections, this controversy boils down to about $44,000 that Jim Grunza contends was associated with a conditional pickleball component of an approval and could not be applied to the Padel impact class requirement after pickleball was publicly placed on hold. That is the dispute. Not whether the project was disclosed, not whether proposals were collected, not whether specifications were discussed with vendors, not whether Tim and Ken and me met with vendors on the property, not whether we went to Addison Reserve in Boca Grove and found out how they deal with takedown and setup of glass. It's not whether Armor Court's incomplete quote was investigated. It's not whether a revised layout was shown. It's not about panel weight or hurricane procedures or takedown costs. And it's certainly not whether Jim Grunza or Jim Trunzo knew that the active project was Padel and basketball. If authorization was the real issue, why bury it beneath claims about bids and glass and layout and takedown that were already discussed? If community priorities are the issue, which funded priority was sacrificed? If process is the real issue, why does the demanded process change depend on who supports the result? And then I have a few questions for you about the Comcast contract, and we'll get to those. So enough with the gotcha games. The issue is over. This has been answered conclusively. And as for your final question about bids, I sent them to you already.
Can I respond?
Absolutely not.
Thank you. Thank you, David. I appreciate that. And Jim, my response to you is that after you threatened to sue me for defamation, I sought legal counsel, which has advised me to cease all communications with you verbally and written. So that will be how my response will be to you moving forward. Okay.
We have one more hand up, Jim Trunzo.
Okay. Jim, go ahead. You've got 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening, board. You will recall that my term as director ended in April of this year, and afterwards I volunteered for the Finance Committee. So can you imagine my surprise when I received a copy of the contract for the Padel and basketball courts dated August of 25 with Sports Services 9 months after the fact. Consequently, I was on the board and voted to approve the original motion in May of 25. Incredibly, however, I never saw this contract document until most recently, and I believe that other directors may never have seen this contract timely either. This document represents a significant deviation from the Boca Bath community standards that have guided the board's fiduciary responsibility, namely, 1, the contract significantly differs from the approved motion by $44,930. After that fact was exposed, the dollar difference was only approved last month. 2, despite the significant capital expenditure, the project was never bid properly and was partly negotiated by our tennis pro. The contract was the contract was never reviewed or approved by our HOA attorney or has been the custom. Shockingly, a 50% deposit check of $122,000 plus was approved and paid against a flawed agreement with fundamentally no meaningful specifications, no performance criteria or completion date, and 0 project drawings or site plan. As a registered and licensed architect who has reviewed millions of dollars of construction contracts, the terms and conditions of this agreement are unilaterally vendor weighted. The stated price of $244,930 is incomplete, and there are numerous costs not included in the contract. No experienced professional would agree to this. This secrecy appears to be a deliberate attempt to hide or conceal what was being done, knowing that the HOA attorney would most likely never approve it. I believe that 2 people were involved in this contract approval, one being Tim Carey, who's no longer president of the board, and the other responsible individual was David Monero, who continues serving on the board. It's my opinion that altogether, these actions are inconsistent with Boca Bath community norms, and it's important not to condone this conduct. Further, it sets a very low expectation for how the Boca Bath Board of Directors chooses to exercise its fiduciary obligation. This conduct is unacceptable, and I believe that David should step down from the board effective immediately.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Thanks,
Thank
Jim.
you.
Now,
Thank
if that
you.
wasn't sufficiently embarrassing for you to have read after I just proved it conclusively wrong, I'm going to do something additional here, and I'm going to screen share very briefly because I don't want to waste any more time on this. So, can everyone see my screen?
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's Jim Grunza while we are talking about the Padel bids, walking through all three of them. Next screen. You could see an Excel screenshot. This is a Zoom because you could see Jason Fisher on the top right here. While Tim Carey was sharing his screen, you see the Excel spreadsheet I mentioned with the tabs, basketball, pickleball, padel, putting. What do you know? There's 3 bids for padel there. That's weird. Ask basketball, multiple bids. Deposit terms with Jim Trunzo just mentioned. You noticed, FDC wanted 40% as a deposit. Armor Courts wanted 30%. So, Jim, I'll give you something. I agree. We shouldn't have paid them a 50% deposit. But for something that has had no material negative impact on the community, for you to focus your attention exclusively on this is absurd. You should direct your attention instead to what the community... Oh, that's weird. You're muted. You should direct your attention instead to the contract that Jim Grunza signed, which there are recorded board minutes about, where he voted against and refused to provide the Comcast contract that we're stuck in for 10 years, that half the neighborhood is complaining about, that he indicated had a renegotiation clause that didn't. So I won't resign from the board. What you should do is stop appearing at the board. Your input is not welcome. And I think that's been abundantly made clear over the past several years.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything to say during good and welfare?
No, this topic, but I talked to Ro about it. We have problems with people putting a lot of debris out on the road early.
Yeah.
But I am finding that our pickup, large bulk yard
Yeah.
waste pickup is Thursdays, not Fridays.
So I actually addressed that with the pickup guy one day because I noticed that as well. And he said when they have extra time on Thursdays, I guess maybe Thursday isn't as busy of a day for them,
Right.
they will swing through some neighborhoods to kind of like get ahead if they can. So it's not actually our pickup day. It's just them trying to like catch up, I think. That's what the guy
He's
told
been
me.
doing it regularly like the last 3
I've
weeks.
noticed
but then
it too.
Friday, a week ago, he never came back on Friday.
Really?
It's hit or miss. So we'll see what happens
Friday,
this week.
last Friday was July 3rd, not last Friday, the Friday before was July
That's
3rd.
right.
Holiday.
So that was a holiday. They
And it
were,
was the weekend. So
they were off on that. So that.
but last Friday they did. Last Friday they did pick up. They came
Last
Thursday
Friday.
and Friday.
Okay,
Just
yeah,
Right.
and it's
I
funny.
took a hit or miss and I put things out on Wednesday. like,
Yeah,
Early, but it turned out to be the right thing.
we're gonna, our day is still Friday. And I did actually flag the guy down one day because he was here Thursday and I'm like, hey, what are you doing? And he was like, well, you know, we've got like, I guess they have to hit like a certain amount of hours in a day. And he's like, when we have extra hours, we'll just like swing through some other neighborhoods to see if debris needs to be picked up.
I just noticed people are putting it. We've
They
got
are.
piles already out.
They are. It's,
Yesterday and today.
it might be a little
So-
confusing. So maybe I'll just put out like our official day really is Friday.
Okay.
It wouldn't hurt to piggyback on the schedule and just remind people to not put their debris in the street.
Yeah.
There was 2 people just on our street that they had a pile the size of this table, and it wasn't even like, I don't mean a little like in the road, because I wouldn't bother to mention
Yeah.
it, but it was like literally in the road, and I'm like, what the heck? If it's dark, you're gonna just drive right into
Yeah.
that, so.
Most definitely you can have that.
People did that or they?
Potentially, yeah,
For
I
sure,
think
the
so.
lawn people.
So,
what
but it's still our responsibility to tell them, you know,
This is
if they
getting
don't,
worse,
and
unfortunately.
I know,
Yeah.
yeah.
hit or miss now, it's becoming a regular thing.
Yeah.
We can put it there. Fewer lawn dumpsters are taking away any debris.
I know, it's
Sure.
unfortunate. They are just kind of leaving it. Once they know we have bulk pickup in the neighborhood, they sort of just like, you know, they're like, oh, they've got bulk pickup in a couple days here. And they don't take it away. So
We'll send a note reminder. It's a good
Yeah.
call.
And I do have one more thing. It looks like a lot of people applied for the city trees.
Yeah.
I see a lot of potted trees showing up in there, so thank you
That's great.
for suggesting
You're
that.
welcome.
Good job.
It's working.
it was a great program they did. Thanks to the city of Boca for that. That was incredible.
By the way, I did speak to the guy that comes around and picks up the trash on Friday, and he says what they'll do, because I put my Franz out, okay, on a Thursday. He came by in the afternoon, picked them up, and I asked him, well, I have some more. He says, we'll be by tomorrow also. So I think what it is that if they do everything on a Friday, sometimes the trucks get filled up and they won't get to everybody. So that's why they like to go around on a Thursday to see how much is there. Then they come back on a Friday to make sure they didn't miss anything.
Makes sense.
Thank
Good.
you.
Yeah. Any other good and welfare? No? Any other hands?
I just wanted to mention that I have the procurement contracting guidelines and template MSA and SOW, but we didn't add a committee. We didn't add legal and risk committee
Yeah.
on there. We put this on
That-
new business, and I might have to leave at about 8:15. So if we could just move that to the committee reports, that would be helpful
Yeah.
to me.
I'll add that after ARB. So you can take off when you need to. Okay, great. Approval of minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Signed, perfect. Yes.
Second.
Yes.
Kristen Stevenson.
Three, yes.
Brittany Suarez, yes. Rocky
Greenberg, yes.
Yes. David.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, perfect. Minutes are approved. And Mark, I will hand the financial report over to you.
Do you have David go first?
I'm gonna add him to below the
Okay.
committee, just so we don't have any confusion. Oh, you want him to go first on the
Since he's got a tight time frame, I don't.
on the audit?
No, I've got an hour, Mark. Thank you.
I'll
On
see you in
procurement.
legal review.
No, I think David, you're okay for like, yeah,
First.
okay. Okay, David, why don't you go ahead on procurement contracting guidelines? We'll jump up to you just in case you gotta pop off real fast. I know you've got
Okay.
the little one with you.
I appreciate that. So I'm going to just screen share briefly and introduce what I did here. So I don't remember. I think it was one of the gyms mentioned this, which is a good call out. Can you see the screen?
We
need
can, but.
I'm gonna have Ro just kind of move her
That's
screen.
You don't need to read
this
through
way.
it. I'm going to scroll through
Describe
it.
it to us.
Yeah.
So Craig Watts raised this point about he raised it in terms of the deposit, in terms of contracting guidelines. I realize it didn't answer your question. One of the gyms on the contract, I didn't review the sports surfaces contract, but thanks for asking. The procurement contracting, whenever we're purchasing something in the neighborhood, the only real guideline by statute is that we need at least 2 bids, unless it is, I believe, something that exceeds 10% of the budget. And I think there have been motions in the past. I noticed one of them that I think Jim Grunza has mentioned a few years ago, and this was in the COVID era where it was something that was, I think the motion was, we should have 3 bids whenever practicable, unless the board decides otherwise. So I think as all these things, the board is a volunteer board. We rely on property managers to help as well. We rely on council at times as well. But we don't want to have to go to council every time we sign a contract. We should have templates. We should have ways that we can move these things through without a comprehensive legal review and thousands of dollars of billing. One thing, if you've noticed over the past couple of years, we've been able to cut the legal budget by, I think, $30,000 to $40,000 over the past 2 to 3 years. And this will keep in that trend and in that vein. That's not to say we should never use association counsel, but what I've prepared here are procurement contracting and legal risk guidelines and certain principles that we should apply. So this is a 16-page document that outlines what I think the core principles of our procurement practice should be, what is mandatory versus association best practice, what the statutory baseline is, kind of clarifying our routine delegated expenditures by the president under $5,000, and creating 2 or 3 additional tiers of 5,000 through 25,000, over 25,000, and then ones that exceed that 10% budget threshold, and where we'll have heightened review regardless of price. and how we should engage outside counsel. And so I'll discuss these with HOA counsel once we adopt these as well. These are the principles of our simplified procurement workflow. We're not going to go through them all in the interest of time. I did say I would send this out yesterday, but I wasn't able to finish yesterday. So rather than adopt these now, I will send these out tonight and to the rest of the board for anyone who's interested in reviewing them and commenting. We welcome your input. We talk about certain legal terms, certain ways of dealing, for instance, in the sports surfaces contract with online terms and conditions that are linked as part of a statement of work and how we should supersede those where applicable with an addendum, construction and lienable work, and various categories throughout. I also created, and I am not serving as HOA counsel. I'm not engaged as HOA counsel on this matter, but I will share this, which I've created a master services agreement template, which is a separate template, and some negotiation principles for it. This is a template that is flexible that we could use for professional services, for certain types of construction. Major construction, we should use the A1A form. And a statement, I've separately created a statement of work template, which is very simple, and have included fill-in forms for where we should have things like performance penalties. Everyone should be very clear-eyed that many vendors will not accept these. Termination for convenience, termination for cause, what a prorated refund clause should be. So this is about 40 pages of work. I don't expect everyone to go through it. I will send it out, and hopefully it helps the board in future endeavors with our contracting.
All right, thank you, David, so much. I appreciate that. So we'll, I guess we'll approve that at the next meeting.
And we'll have a return.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I have a quick question. David, can you send me a copy? I'd like to
Sure.
review that.
I
Sure.
missed 40 pages. Oh,
Thank
okay.
you.
Thanks. 40 pages. Oh, send it to me tomorrow. I've got a long road trip.
Can I just add one thing too? I raised my hand, but apparently we're not going by that. Can I speak to what David just said?
Yes, 1 second. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Jim. I thought Ro had to unmute you, but obviously you're speaking, so you did.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
You need Ro. It's all right. David, the problem with what you've done is that you don't understand what a bid is in construction. A bid
Okay,
is
put him back
something.
on mute, please. Well, your 3 minutes is.
Oh my God.
No, but you just went through.
Jim, you don't understand what a contract and a lawsuit is, but I'm going to introduce you to one soon.
Don't speak over me. I was just
Just
recognized
mute him,
by the principal, and you're speaking over me again. You're
You
always
get 3
shouting
minutes, Jim.
over
3
me.
minutes. We'll give you 3 minutes. Go ahead.
I'm just saying that you don't understand what a bid is. And a bid is something that's based on specifications. And you've done no specifications. You walked through, waved your hand, got on the phone, did this, did that, and you have quotes, but you have no bids.
It's not relevant to.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's completely wrong, and I just showed you them, and we're just not going to debate this with you. And
Yeah, you have no specifications.
Jim, you
That's the
claim to
problem.
be an architect. You wanted to build a cigar club. You wanted us to sue everyone.
Oh,
You
you're
said
just
illegal.
off
Just
the rails,
stop it. It's
David. You're
pathetic.
really hot air, off the
pathetic.
rails.
Jim, I'm gonna interrupt here. What you're reviewing has nothing to do with David's procurement presentation, so we're going to move on because
Yeah.
we've already addressed what you are.
Yeah.
And next time you want to participate in producing a bid or specs, which I read out loud that you rejected, next time you want to produce 40 pages, we will eagerly provide our feedback. Until then, don't speak.
Yeah.
Done.
Not
Okay.
relevant. Okay, so thanks, David. Mark, financials.
Yes,
Treasurer's report.
got it.
One of the things we encountered and I learned yesterday is that Campbell has us under the, I've never seen the agreement, but under the agreement, they have up until the 20th of every month to provide our financials. I was able to get the bank balances and things in your director's package. You have the Western Alliance Bank balances. We have $1,093,000. Oh,
Sorry, no, I think we emailed them, but I did not. I printed your report.
This one.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one. Okay,
Oh.
that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So you have the current bank balances as of We do not have both statements in on the loans with Valley Bank, so those balances, one is, along with the asterisks, is the last balance of last month. So one of the things we need to talk about is potentially, I did discuss, could we get financials by the 12th of the month, and I was shot down. We were told no. I asked about the 15th of the month, and I was told that no HOA gets their financials by the 15th of the month. So Campbell's doing an outstanding job for us. So I want to have a discussion about, do we move the meeting back another week or even to the last Wednesday of the month? Next month, if we stick to our schedule, it's gonna be August 19th. So we can counter the problem that we don't have current financials.
Right.
So
yeah.
push it back one
This is
week.
something they told us in advance, and we talked, I think 4 months ago about pushing the meetings back.
Yeah, I do
So-
remember us having to have that discussion. Yeah, I agree, Mark. I think we might need to have the meetings on the last Wednesday of every month instead of the third, just so you can get them, review them.
So I'll
present
make a
them.
motion to move it to the last Wednesday of every month.
Perfect. I'll second that.
Great. Any discussions?
I don't think so.
All in favor?
All in favor? All
Aye.
right.
Thank you. All right, the audit, I think everybody's in agreement now. I've talked, Brittany and David and I have talked ad nauseum about it. The finance committee came back and said that we'll recommend a qualified opinion, meaning that we're not in 100% agreement with Hawkeye, and we all know why. But we do feel comfortable with the auditor's numbers. So with that, we have the documentation and it's in the package tonight to be signed. So we'll wrap that up. Taxes were paid for last year. We paid them back in the end of April, so we're current there.
Great.
On the investment strategy, so we are finalizing the accounts. Last month, we did make the motion and approve moving funds to Merrill Lynch, so we're finalizing that step. We've got one more account to close. We've been doing a good job on at least forever to close accounts, but we're making progress. We have one left at Emmer Bank to finalize with $2,000 in it. And just one update too, and David mentioned it, but Jim Grunza did step down from the finance committee. Let's see, Campbell Financials, we talked about.
Mark, not to interrupt you, but
Please.
did we get the refund yet for the double payments to Valley Bank?
We did, yeah.
We got
that last
Okay,
one.
perfect.
And then last is, I want to recognize, I talked to Jim earlier this afternoon, that since April 1st till the end of June, Jim single-handedly and with his coaches has increased the tennis revenue 15.5%.
Yay, Jim.
So it's wonderful. He's at over $19,000 in income. We're looking for $20,000 next month, hopefully. Net income, that was gross income, and then net income was $18,000. So Jim has and his team have recognized almost $53,000 since March 9th. And Boca Bath and Tennis earned $5,876 for their 10%.
Thank you so much. That's
So,
incredible.
Huge progress there. And I'll have complete financials for you.
That's great.
Thank you.
What everything's happening. Thanks, Mark, for that.
I have a few questions on financials for Mark.
Please.
Okay, go ahead, and then I'll talk.
Mark, couple items on the balance sheet. What's the status of getting the $58.99 from Hawkeye?
We are back to Bank of America, unfortunately, trying to find out the history of that check. We do know it was cashier's check. We do know when it was issued, but we don't know the status of that check. So we got a request in with Bank of America, and they are crickets at the moment. So still working on that.
The other question I have is what's the interest rate
on that topic, Jim? Mark, I thought this was the account where Jim Grunza and Maria Kemper-Reese were the only signers and the only ones they could speak to, and I thought you were speaking to Jim about that. Has that conversation not happened?
It has not, no.
Yeah.
So Jim, I'm gonna need your help. I'll get with you after the meeting. Because we reached out to one of the executives at the bank that we were given, he was involved before, and that's who we're not hearing back from. Melissa and I have been trying to contact him. So I'll talk to you about that. One other thing I forgot to mention is that Brian DeMar and I have been working with reserves, and I've sent it over to Melissa. We want to go back to the line item. Last year's board did approve going back to individual line items for the reserves. So Ryan and I took two different approaches to look at how to reestablish line item reserves. If you remember, the 602,000 was spent towards clubhouse renovation. So we have to adjust every single account accordingly and lower them, of course, accordingly. So we took two different approaches. Brian's came up with a negative number for the clubhouse. I'm coming up with a positive number. So we're working together to try and figure out how to do that. The one thing that I'll tell you is there is money in the street lighting reserve, and we know from past experiences over the years that we don't want to play with FBN. We don't want to buy poles, because the minute we buy poles and insert them, then we are liable for maintaining those poles. So as long as we can incent P&L to add poles, they maintain them, and it's their headache.
Yeah, I think that's something on the agenda down the road, once we get some of these bigger projects under our belt. I also think simply pressure washing some of those poles might make them look a heck of a lot better, because they are just molded concrete at this point.
Right.
Would that, Mark, apply to these very old and pretty much useless light posts around the clubhouse?
These are different because the parking lot are unique to our poles, and around the pool area are our poles.
Right.
So that's not up, So the one thing I want to do though is take the dollars. We need dollars for the tree and swale budget.
Mhm.
So the dollars that, and you'll see numbers by the next meeting once we resolve the reserves. I'm going to take those dollars and put them into, let's do our tree swale this year and get that
Great,
wrapped up. So,
Cool. Okay, thanks.
all right.
Appreciate that.
Okay, I'm not done yet. By the way, per state statutes, I'm allowed 3 minutes on any topic on the agenda. So I have a few other questions, okay, on financial.
That's actually incorrect, but we'll let you.
What's incorrect about it, David?
Go ahead, Tim.
You're allowed 3 minutes overall, not per topic.
No, that's not true. Read
Continuing
the state.
education provided by Campbell, and you can review it.
Read the state statutes. I know I'm right. It's any topic on the agenda. Each person could talk 3 minutes. So let me talk about the other items on the income statement. As of 5/31/26, the bank interest income is only $28.75 out of a $40K budget projection. So the bottom line is we're never going to achieve that $40,000. You'd have to be getting something like 8 to 10% interest. So I'd like to really understand why the interest rate appears to be so much lower and we're not going to achieve that $40,000 goal. You want me to continue with the other ones, by the way? The other ones, by the way, is when are we going to add the GL code for tennis revenue that we discussed, Mark, and also with Melissa? We're supposed to add a GL code called tennis revenue, tennis director 10%, so that you can see that on the income statement. Okay, and right now I'd like to know, are we collecting the 10%? And if we are, where is it going? Because it's not showing up on the income statement.
Yes, Jim, the 10% is being tracked. We're watching every dollar and every penny that comes in. We also have a nice income on non-resident dues that were paid for the tennis committee that was contributed last month. We have not changed or added any GL accounts. That's going to happen when we do the reserve changes.
Okay. By the way, I did a thorough analysis of the of the expense accounts, and I found that we had a budget of 7.5K for office expense, and as of 5/31, we've already spent 9.5K. So it'd be nice to know why we spend so much on office expense. The other thing that came when reviewing this, I found we spent $2.1 million on the clubhouse and pool. However, we had a budget of $5,000 for clubhouse repairs. We've already spent 13.7K. We have a budget for the pool, okay, and we've already spent 4.3K for pool repairs. So my question is, we just spent $2.1 million, okay, on the clubhouse and pool, and yet we seem to have we're over budget in all these repair expense accounts. And by the way, in other expense categories, we had a budget of $40,000 for miscellaneous expenses. We're already at 38.8. So the bottom line is, it looks like, and the other one, tennis director, we're 15K over budget year to date.
Your time's up.
Out of time. Thank you, though.
Mark?
The bottom line is we are way over budget.
I will refer to you on that.
I would just ask you, Jim, that since I wasn't part of the committee last year that approved the budget, we do recognize that there are budget line items that will change. In fact, we just are finalizing our 26-27 budget time, first week of August. We'll be going back and looking at all these categories. And we will try and fine tune a lot of these categories. You're pointing out the obvious, and I don't disagree with you. So again, we're going to sharpen our pencil and have an improved budget for next year.
In discussing budget in general, we've been robbing Peter to pay Paul for a very long time, and that is very problematic for any business, any organization. I mean, even your personal finances, you can't really do that. So the budget does have to have we do have to have a very serious conversation with Campbell, and we will have to talk about why we are, maintenance costs we do have to allocate more maintenance. We haven't had a clubhouse with maintenance for 5 years. We now have that. The pool was shut down for multiple years. It's now opened. So yes, budget will be very important, and we need to
And
realize
I will touch on one other thing too, Jim. You and I have talked about it, and for the benefit of the board, on the 602,000, the last draw from Valley Bank. Now we know that we've given deposits for sports services. We've given a deposit to our county for paving the parking lot. So that is still in our operating account. Okay, so it's blended in. We do not have a separate line item. Melissa and I have talked about it at length and also about it, and we are not going to be establishing a separate line item for that. So it's going to be a manual tracking, but we are not. You'll be updated every time we are spending money out of that account. The only other item that we paid for out of that account so far is $11,000. We have a contract for $11,000 limit for all of the survey and environmental things that had to be done.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to make one last comment. In terms of right now, as of May 31st, we have a net income loss at 43.2K. So if we just take that out to the end of the year, it looks like we're going to be over $100,000. Okay, a net income loss. And last year we also had a net income loss. So I think that we got to take a look at all these various expense buckets and find out why we're so far over. I mean, when you blew the budget through May, we've already,
Jim,
exceeded the budget for the whole year.
We've already given you more than enough time on this topic. I think Mark's done more than extensive research, and he's worked very hard on it. So we're going to move on.
It's almost like this is something that the finance committee would have focused on for the past.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a point that is made. Okay, so can you make sure that
we never had a finance committee until a couple months ago when Mark took over.
is unmuted so he can respond, and then I just need to make sure he's
Okay, David, I've unmuted you or asked you to unmute. Okay.
okay, and then we need to.
We can hear the board.
Yeah, I think you muted yourselves instead of. I don't think we can hear any audio.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can't hear Jim Grunza, can't hear the board.
The board is unmuted. The board is muted. Can't hear the board.
Okay, I need you to mute, please, Jim and Jim. Can you hear us?
I'm showing that they're all in mute right now.
Okay, fantastic.
We can now hear you.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Okay.
Ready?
Thank you, Mark. All right, committee reports. Finance
Wait,
committee.
I just had one more. I had one more remark with.
I just need.
All right, thank you. Okay, committee report, finance committee.
Finance committee.
Audit approval.
You wanted to, okay, David, did you want to put out something just in, I mean, I'm happy to do it, but I just want to make a statement before we agreed to signing this audit, that the finance committee did recommend that we sign it. I also want people to understand what a qualified opinion is, and that the numbers we're signing to are as good as the numbers Hawkeye provided, which none of us really truly believe is great numbers. So
Yeah,
do you?
I think we've reported ad nauseum over the past couple of years that we had poor financial controls with Hawkeye. We're still chasing down certain items from Hawkeye. That's no secret. Nonetheless, the show must go on, and we need to file tax returns and audit financials per our regulations. The finance committee was helpful in looking through that. At that time, the finance committee, I believe, comprised of Ryan DeMoro, Tim Carey, Mark Anderson, Jim Trunzo, and Jim Grunza. And Mark Anderson has conveyed that the recommendation prior to the resignation of Jim Grunza was that we sign a qualified opinion of the board. So if there is a difference of opinion from Jim Grunza or Jim Trunzo, I would like to not have to revisit a recording of a board meeting to say that you were silent on it now. So speak now or forever hold your peace, please.
Go ahead.
You got to
Jim.
unmute yourself, Jim. You got to unmute yourself. Jim Trenzo, unmute yourself.
All we
Jim.
require, by the way, is a one-word answer. Yes, we approve. Yes or no.
Jim, you're muted. You muted yourself. He's not.
Well, if Jim is, why don't you unmute Jim so he can have something to say? You did. I still see that he's muted.
You can tell us first, Jim. Jim Grunza.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, on that audit report, the one concern that I did have is that the audit did show that we had a net loss of about $47,000 for the year. Their report showed, the Hawkeye report showed that there was a net income of about $27,000. So there seems to be like a $70,000 delta between what Hawkeye was saying and what the audit, GRG was saying. So before I would have signed it, I would have taken a look at that to make sure that all the changes that were made, all the journal entries, were taken into account to fix the books, because frankly.
So you were on the finance committee while this happened, Jim. All I'm looking for is a yes or no, and it doesn't seem like we're going to get that. So if you were in the board's position, would you sign on behalf of the neighborhood as a qualified opinion, acknowledging there are material issues with the return? But
I would not have signed it.
Thank you. That's what I thought. Jim Trunzo?
I was just going to remark on Mark's budget, whether he had put in maintenance panels for the Padel court, whether we had established that number yet.
Totally not at all what we're talking about right now. We'll just skip it. I think we all know the answer, and this will be a humorous thing to come back to.
You wouldn't have interrupted me. I was trying to get to him, but I had my hand up, but I wasn't called on, and he gave his speech. And
wait till the next committee, please. It's under old business. So save your thought.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so in an effort to keep with good standings for our neighborhood, David Monero and I have agreed to sign the audit under this condition that unfortunately the numbers are as good that were given to us, and the numbers are on Hawkeye. They are not on us. So make it clear we're doing this for the neighborhood, nothing personal. So, okay, so moving on, that's the audit, and we will be signing it. Social committee.
Just one thing to make clear there. Brittany and I don't benefit from signing that. No one benefits from it. It's an absurd protest vote for people who worked with the auditors for months to not do that. We have to do it to file our tax returns. Mark, I think you know that as well, and maybe you could speak up here as well, because you said that the finance committee approved this. So I just think it's disgraceful that the two of you won't say that you would do that and are trying to hold something in reserve to hold over our head. It's really pathetic.
It's horrible.
And the correction was, if you recall, it's been discussed the last several board meetings that the Valley Bank loan was in November. starting in November 2025, Hawkeye, somebody started making double entries paying Valley Bank. And it's $22,000 a month, so there's 44,000 of the discrepancy. And of course, we recovered those funds and Valley Bank was kind enough to rebate them back to us and back it out of the loan.
I'm sure I'll hear about this audit signing at some point in the future with someone, but that's okay. I'm willing to do it for the neighborhood and the better good of the neighborhood, so we remain in good
You're not
standings.
personally guaranteed. It's.
No, no one is, because no one can. I'm
Right.
agreeing to a qualified opinion, which is the best we can do at this point, which is still not great. We need to
Right.
get that better. Like, we need to be able to have a better audit process, and hopefully with Campbell, we know we'll be able to do that.
Sure.
Okay, moving on to social. Lorraine is not here. Did either one of you ladies want to take on social, or you want to just like run through?
She knows the calendar.
Yeah,
Right.
it's super quick.
Well, there hasn't, actually, Joy and I
Joy.
chatted a little bit earlier this afternoon. Thank you for being here, Joy, and for reaching out. There's no update because there's been no meeting. And
Yeah.
there's been no further discussion of anything, but I know that, we've got dates established, and the best thing I can report on is that there will be an upcoming meeting, so we'll make sure that we get that published to the community. So anybody that has mentioned some interest in participating and volunteering, we would love to hear from everybody. We need all hands on deck to make these events happen, so.
I will add something there, actually. We are slowly but surely getting a nice little pool of like Indians, right? Or
I was just gonna
Indians,
say
not
that.
chiefs, right?
Yeah.
A nice little pool of people who
Sous
wanna
chefs.
help in small ways, and small ways are
Yeah.
great.
I was gonna say that too, that it's been really nice to see the excitement and the willingness to help amongst the amongst the community. So I appreciate everyone coming out for that.
Can we introduce Joy? I've never met Joy.
Oh, you haven't met Joy? Aw, Joy's a joy.
Wait a minute. Wait a
Well,
minute.
put it
We
in
love
minutes
Joy.
so that we know.
Her name
Sure.
was helpful too.
Joy, how long have you lived in Boca Bath and Tennis?
I'm sorry?
How long have you guys lived in Boca Bath and Tennis?
Oh, mercy. 32 years.
And Mark, how long have you and Susan lived here?
26.
How about that?
All right, well, you guys, the
32
next
years.
social event.
But it sounds like you're over there and I'm.
It's true. You're on the opposite ends of the earth.
Mark and Susan live directly across the street from David and I.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
okay.
that's,
Easy to find.
yes.
Yep.
Oh, you're the lake house. I call it the lake house.
They're
On the corner.
Yeah.
Yes,
I love it.
yes.
It's the coolest Halloween house in our.
Yeah, the best Halloween house, for
It's
sure.
nice in general, but yeah, so I
Thank
volunteered
you.
to help with social committee.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I will be here in every way I possibly can.
And as treasurer, last meeting, I told Lorraine that we had a 41 and change. I'll have a new update. I don't know that we spent any more money in the last month, but I'll update that number as soon as I have the new financials.
She will be very good at observing the budget.
Great, thanks.
Perfect, thank you all. Jem, tennis?
Okay, I have a couple of subtitles. I'm gonna start with programming. Just as Mark mentioned, thinking summer was gonna be a little slow. It's actually been a pretty good summer. So, well, we did lose some, obviously some of our coaches out. So, our lesson revenue went down, but luckily we made up quite a bit with the camps. Camps been a pretty good addition this year. It's providing a lot of hours for obviously Brad and some of the teenagers in the community. They're
Yeah.
helping me
Yeah,
out.
thank you for
Great.
that.
And our clinics are still well attended, even though people come in and out, it's still there, so people feel like, hey, if I'm in town, I'm gonna show up. So there's a good traction going on there. Our leagues, we have right now 2 teams playing summer leagues, actually 2 ladies teams and 1 men's team. Men's team is on Tuesday nights. They're doing pretty well, and our 2 ladies teams, they're kind of like on the upper end of the league, so it's all going well. So we are kind of like working on a little league handbook for Boca Bath and Tennis. Myself and Mindy will be meeting up in the next week to kind of like start putting something together for our leagues starting back in September. And we do have a big kickoff event that's gonna happen for the ladies leagues. So as far as the special events, we just finished the Wimbledon breakfast event. It was well attended. We had 16 players, for this time of the year, again,
Yeah.
July 4th week leading
Yes.
into a weekend. It's not an easy weekend, but we were happy to have 16. It was a good number to manage.
Mhm.
I did most of the food, so we didn't use a caterer, so kept the cost down. And 16 was a good number. More than that would have been a little stressful. Our next event, we're trying to do some events with the social committee to kind of like tag along with the community events so that we can do some tennis in the beginning and then have the community come afterwards. We do have a social media page now, so.
BBT courtside for
Yeah.
everyone.
Courtside, yeah.
Cute. Yeah.
So we will be putting a lot of the updates and events to increase visibility within the community. It is gonna feature a lot of the, like the happenings and the, leagues and results and, acknowledgements. I think also Facebook as well.
Oh,
So,
great. Oh,
yeah.
even better.
Let's put
Thank
that
you.
out in an email.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it
I did.
the BBT courtside?
Yes, I'll send you the information. I did send it
Yeah.
on the play by point, but we can reach
Yeah,
out to the
let's
rest
put
of the
that out in
community.
an email for
Um,
everyone to join.
For the maintenance portion, the courts are doing well. There's days where they're a little wet. There are days that are a little dry. So we're still trying to figure out that happy medium. But so far, it's going well. We did replace all the trash cans and the trays along the courts. They've been, holding with the zip ties and strings, and they're very low cost
Yeah.
upgrades. So we replaced all those. We bought a couple of squeegees. They were all old. We had an extra ice machine in the storage. We put on the back courts, so that was a big issue. But to get ice, people were coming here, and the machine here is not big enough to support a lot of the league play. And the same with the machine under the gazebo on the front courts. It's a smaller one, so I think the one in the back is going to help us with obviously the summer tennis, we'll call it. That's pretty much it. My last one would be, I talked to Brittany, I'm gonna be living for 2 weeks from the 24th till the 7th. Brad is aware, he's gonna be taking over, so we'll send a message to community. I'm still gonna be communicating with them and running the play-by-point over, and I'll make sure we send a message to the community through Rob. If there's any questions or concerns, Brad is gonna be more than happy to handle it. So it will be a good test for him to start stepping into a little bit of leadership that we want him to be, obviously. So
Great.
I'm sorry, what are those dates again, Jim?
today's the 24th to the 7th.
Are you okay? Because we're gonna pay you about that time where you've got to pay all your
Okay,
coaches.
so what I'll do is I can submit it probably over an email.
Okay.
Yeah, once the report that I give you, the advisor report,
Advisor.
it only comes out on the 3rd.
Okay,
So then I
So
can just
about the
hand it
20th,
to you and then go and then
okay,
you guys can do that.
okay, good, thanks.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any questions for me?
Tennis questions?
Feel great.
I will say my kids have loved tennis camp. He gets up in the morning and he's like on his bike out the door by 8:45. He is so excited. He's dressed, his water bottle's made. So thank you for providing that for our children.
That's the goal, like, I know we still have quite a bit of kids in the neighborhood and
Yeah.
hoping we'll get to, the ones that are not attending that much. So with maybe some of the social media, we'll probably do a little recap. I don't know who runs the Facebook page too for the BB&T.
It's sort of self-managed,
Yeah.
it's all of us,
You know.
but if you want something specific to go out, I'd be happy to put it out
Yeah,
on
I know
behalf.
Lorraine has put some stuff, I know Brittany put
Yeah.
some stuff on there, so it'd be good to kind of like get it out to the community.
I also think since we're not taking just residents' children, right, we're taking
Yeah,
outside
we're
children.
taking outside,
Yeah.
that makes a good portion, and
Yeah.
we do charge them extra, which obviously.
Right, I
Yeah.
saw that.
Into the BB.
So I think, I know I posted on like a Boca moms group on Facebook, so we can also try to maybe post on some outside.
Yeah.
There might even, we only have like a couple more weeks of camp, like 2 more weeks, right?
Actually, this is our last
This is our
week.
last week.
Yeah,
Oh,
this is the last.
Yeah.
okay, well then for
Maybe
next year,
summer.
Yeah.
for next
So
time.
that's it. So that's another thing, like this was the first year, so we did 2 weeks in June, 2 weeks in July. So hopefully, with the, good attendance.
Yeah.
Next year we could offer more, and then maybe even through the August, maybe first week or two, since the school starts a little later.
That would be
So-
very helpful,
Do
yeah.
you young moms, do kids still think t-shirts are cool?
Yeah, they
This
can't
is
show.
Great advertising.
Yeah.
It's a
Oh,
good
yeah.
point.
True.
It's a good point.
So I am gonna do logo apparel, so we're working on a little BBT tennis logo actually with the committee, so. I know we have the BBT logo that represents the community, but we had our, in the last tennis committee meeting to have like a tennis, like a racket club, kind of like a logo where we can use it on the, apparel. Obviously that will come, once we create something, it will come through your approval, I think the board's approval.
I love that.
Yeah.
We could also do next year, not this year, we could talk about maybe like a registration fee for camp, and then that registration fee usually comes, it's like we'll cover any administrative fees, and then it also comes with like a t-shirt and a water bottle, and that's great. That's a great idea. Yeah, so I know.
It's great advertising, you eat within the neighborhood on it.
It is.
I don't know this shirt.
Yeah.
That was.
Or like, yeah, they're running around all day in that same shirt and other kids in the neighborhood recognize. That's a great idea. Okay, wonderful. I think that everything, our tennis sounds like it's booming and we are so excited. The rocket launch predicted a huge success. So.
It did. I
Great
think
job.
it would be great. We can also do kind of like a community-wide open house. I think as we get ready to do, like back to school, it doesn't have to be a formal event. But I think, on a day when we know that we have Jem, Brad, and maybe a couple of other coaches, we get some of the existing kids that are in the tennis program and even their parents, just like, hey, we're gonna have just an open house, come
Yeah.
as you are, meet the pros, check out the facilities, ask some questions.
We definitely would do something like towards like the middle of August, maybe we'll send something out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're also going to be doing, Jem's gonna be doing a informational session on Padel. I will get the date out. I think we're probably gonna we'll shoot for when you come back in
Yeah.
town, because I'm gonna be out of town too, for a couple weeks, but we'll shoot for when you come back. I think again, middle of August, third week of August, we're gonna do an information session. People can come and learn and see what it's all about, and
It's really starting to boom in
show
South
some
Florida.
videos. So I think that's on the books as well.
Yeah.
And we'll put that out through email. Great. Thanks, Jen, for everything. You're good.
Thank you.
All right. Yes.
You are excused. You are excused.
You brought
You've been here all day.
long day for you.
You brought all the
Good
good
news.
news.
Okay, ARB. Mark, do we have anything for ARB?
I just need to make, I don't think I have to make a motion, but point of clarification, when David made the motion about committee and people on committees.
Yeah.
We had Pamela ready. She had actually stepped down from
Oh,
the
she
committee.
did. You know
And
what?
Heidi Boncher is the person we missed. She is on the committee.
When we do committee review, we'll make those corrections.
Okay,
I corrected it in the minutes
thank you.
from.
And then the only other thing is, again, same day approvals.
Yeah,
That's
I got a
what
same day
experience.
approval today. So thank you so much.
My fault.
Don't even worry about it.
At times.
You're
we're
fine.
doing very well.
Yes.
He's doing great. Craig's on the committee.
Yes, thank you guys. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yay.
It wasn't a hard one. I was gonna say it wasn't a hard one, but I still appreciate
Good to do
your
covers.
attention to it. So it was wonderful not having to wait, another 3 weeks for that. So I appreciate that. Okay, great. President's report. So in my president's report in old business, we've already got basketball, padel, and the wall and hedge. I'm just gonna very quickly give an update. I did meet with Cobra Pavers yesterday, Tuesday. Yes, that was yesterday. I met with them yesterday. The permit has been approved. We are just waiting for issuance, which should be by the end of the week. The pavers are ordered, and just so everyone understands what it entails, we're finishing this back section over here that's still pool deck. We're finishing that with the pavers. They're gonna rip all that out, replace it. We are repaving the entranceway, which to my astonishment, I didn't even notice we had pavers. They're so old and they've been run over for 40 years. So I had no idea we even had pavers there for a very long time. And so when it was brought to my attention, I'm like, oh my gosh, there are pavers there. I just never noticed them. So you will notice them now, and it will give a really great look to our entrance. We're also going to repave the guard. Or when I say repave, I mean add pavers to the guardhouse area right there in the front. Our meeting yesterday was to go over safety procurements for how we can shut down a lane, keep a lane open for fire trucks, things like that. The city is working with Cobra to handle that. So that will be between Cobra and the city. Cobra will say what they're going to do. The city will approve. We really don't have a say in that. What the city has asked Boca Bath and Tennis to do is they have asked us to add a guard to the days that we are working on the entrance way. Cobra is, weather permitting, as always, Cobra is under the assumption that they can get that entranceway done in 4 days. I think that's extremely ambitious, but I also think if they're willing to put that number out there, I'm willing to hold them to it. So we will probably have to add a guard. Definitely in the busy hours of the morning, maybe not so much in the afternoon, but we will need to do that because that is something we did commit to the city that we would do. So that we'll take care of, and we will get that scheduled once we get a date. The start date for the pavers should be end of July is what they are expecting. So I will put a notice out to the community when that starts. I know there's so many people here, so everyone's going to hear me say this, but I am going to ask for everyone's patience when we do start that, because there is going to be some traffic backups both in and out, and we will expedite that as quickly as we can. But unfortunately, we only have one entrance to this neighborhood, so I can't, we're kind of working with limited space. So that's the pavers. We're very excited. That's going to really make that look great.
Can we get them extended hours? It's not a noisy operation to put papers in. Can we?
We definitely can.
So
Yes, that's
before
something.
8 after
Oh, yeah.
6?
Yeah.
That's a great
If
idea.
they're willing to do it.
If they're willing to stay, I think their goal was what we discussed was that they were going to rip up one section, put that section down. While they're putting that section down, they're ripping up another section on the exit. Then they're putting that section down. Then they're ripping up another section on the entrance, putting that down. And it's like they're ripping up and putting down at the same time. So they're really going to try to move this like as
And you
quickly
guys
as
just prep
possible.
cleaned everything too.
Everything's pressure cleaned. This shouldn't really affect any of the pressure cleaning. One curb is more than likely going to need to be replaced. They've already addressed that with us. We will have to talk about budgeting those big trees on the right side may need to be pruned. If you've noticed, when you drive by the residence entrance, it's very rocky and the water sits right over there by that curb. So they have discussed if we remove that curb, we should probably prune those roots, and then we'll put the curb back. But everything else should look great. The pressure washing looks great. Thank you, Ro. The entrance is no longer black; it's white.
It looks it's like a different community. Totally.
Color.
Mhm.
It's
I know.
like a totally different color. The signs look refreshed, so it's all coming along really nicely.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just wanted to say that since I didn't add it to old business. Lastly, for Cobra, they are also doing this sidewalk connection back here. In case people weren't aware, we are adding a sidewalk between courts 1 through 4, the playground and the pool, and courts 5 through 8, and that will help provide ease of passage for those residents and guests that can't get around as easily. It'll also help eliminate a lot of that dirt road back there for those of us that have children and grandchildren. I'm sure you love all that dirt coming in. So it's going to help with a lot of those complaints that we've been receiving. That is actually, even though it's Cobra, what they explained to me is that is a completely separate crew than the paver crew. So they can actually do that at the same time that they're going to be doing the pavers. There's going to be a lot of construction going on around the clubhouse, and I'm just going to ask for everyone's patience. I would love to get this all done before school starts, and that's kind of really my goal. Once people come back from summer, the fall kickoff, we don't want to be under construction during all that. So the goal is to kind of push and shove and move our way through. People are going to have to kind of bob and weave through some construction, but we'll get that done as quickly as possible. So that's
Brittany,
for
one quick
pavers.
question. Are you going to do the sidewalk in front of the clubhouse?
There will be portions of the sidewalk that will be replaced. When we repave the entrance or the parking lot, there are going to be portions that are broken and that will need to be replaced, as well as the ADA that section of it, but unfortunately, I'm not aware of how much of that is going to be replaced. I can find that out, but that will not come until we do the parking lot, which won't be until after the pavers. They have to store the pavers in the parking lot. So that does have to be,
We have
next
to wait
week.
for the permit, ADA compliance, what the paving
Yeah.
company's suggesting, where the location. I don't think that's what the city's gonna come back with. I think they're gonna put it in the entrance.
Yeah.
By the basketball court, so we're kind of at the mercy of the city and the permit.
Yeah, once the permitting gets done, then, we will have better answers for that, but that's.
Yeah,
And we
the only point I'm trying to make is that if you're gonna, and I think it's a great idea, putting in pavers in the entrance, but if you're gonna do that and we're not gonna do the sidewalks, you're gonna have lousy looking sidewalks and a brand new entrance to the clubhouse. So appears to me you'd want to do that all of the sidewalks in front of the clubhouse.
Yes, all in due time. And yes, all in due time, we will get it done. And it is in the works, definitely portions of it is in the works. So it will, look a lot better pretty soon. One thing I do want to say, I do want to make a statement, and I do want to go on the record with this statement. So this is very important to me. And so I'm going to read it because I actually put a lot of thought into this, and I want to really make sure that it is heard. And it is heard throughout the neighborhood for everyone, not just me and future boards as well. So I want to go on the record and address a deeply troubling pattern that has become impossible to ignore. The record speaks for itself. Over the course of more than a year, these projects were discussed, debated, and ultimately approved during numerous board meetings. The concerns now being raised were not presented during that process. Some of the individuals now objecting were present for those discussions, supported the board's decisions at the time, and even voted in favor of the motions that approved them. It was only after I became president that these same matters suddenly became grounds for repeated criticism, personal attacks, and demands that I reverse decisions that had already been openly discussed and approved. Let me be perfectly clear. I will not be bullied, manipulated, or intimidated into abandoning what I believe is the best interest of this association. Honest disagreement is part of good governance. Efforts to demean, pressure, or undermine volunteers who are serving this community are not. Residents can draw their own conclusions from the timing and nature of these events. My responsibility is simply to ensure the record accurately reflects the facts. I also believe it is important to acknowledge the concerning pattern that the way women in leadership have been treated in this community. Regardless of whether someone agrees with board decisions, every volunteer deserves to be met with professionalism and mutual consideration. When civil discourse is replaced with intimidation and hostile behavior, it harms not only the individual involved, but the association as a whole. I remain committed to leading this association with integrity, transparency, and respect. And I expect the same level of professionalism from everyone who chooses to participate in association business. I also want to make it very clear that I am not the only woman who has felt this way, and I've had other women express these same feelings as well that have been in past leadership positions on our board and in our presidency. In closing, I hope we move forward with the understanding that every volunteer who chooses to serve, regardless of sex, race, religion, or background, deserves fairness, dignity, and respect. Differences of opinion strengthen an association. Intimidation, discrimination, and attempts to undermine those who serve do not. This is a standard I will continue to uphold, and it is the standard I hope guides every future board and every future president. And that is my statement.
Thank you, Brittany.
Okay. Old business. Mark, I'll let you do clubhouse rental agreement.
It's actually David.
I'm sorry.
David's done. Clubhouse.
Oh, David.
Right.
David, you're on if you're able to
Is
do.
he on?
Yeah.
Oh,
He had to put his little one down. Okay.
I really wasn't part of that,
Well, I mean, I can speak generally to it. Hang on, I'm just going through my
I thought
packet.
we updated that.
He did.
I know
he
that-
made a few
yeah.
changes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know that the number was it cars versus
Gas
attendees.
versus gas,
Correct.
and then the we don't give out.
Right, we don't give out a key anymore, it's not necessary, so it's really just a matter of turning the property over, so it. That was the only other, those were the only.
Those are the only two.
Main
And I'm going
changes.
to take that
Okay,
and forward it.
so just again to recap, well, that wasn't the only change for why we were producing the new agreement, right?
No, we made those motions at the last meeting.
Right, so
So
now we're just producing it, and then the
Yeah.
only other items that we were noting was, like she said, you know, the number of cars, but it's actually the number of 10, I think we said 10
Yeah.
cars or more, not 20.
20 people.
Or 20
Yeah.
people, right, exactly, so that was,
Advance notice,
yeah.
which, why do you think about that?
What?
Do you know how many people a week in advance are gonna show up? I don't.
You should have
Get
a
lot of-
pretty good idea, I mean, if
If
it's
you know
like
your overall
flexes.
event, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I
And
also
especially if
think-
it's more, if it's gonna be more than 10 cars or 20 people, you definitely have a pretty good
Yeah.
idea, like, we have a baby shower that we're having in August, I pretty much already know how many people are coming.
Congratulations.
Thank you, not me, I would fall out of my chair. No, oh my gosh, it's so hot in here. No, thank you. I know, right? Yeah,
Gonna fill
exactly.
that house up.
Yeah, no, different generation, Mark, different generation, but yes.
next level.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's just the small tweak that we made to the rental agreement. Okay,
That
perfect.
is correct. Everything else, like you said, was everything that we established already as far as like the insurance, the notification, how far in advance based on the larger groups, et cetera, that was already established.
Are we in a position to go ahead and make a motion to approve it?
Yeah,
As, because I think that's
One,
what
two,
David's
three.
intent was.
yes, absolutely.
Sure, yeah. I'll make a motion or what is it, the number of cars?
10 cars or 20 attendees.
10
Because you figure two people per car
Hold on,
in
it's
theory.
okay.
And we didn't want people to back up that much, so they would have to give their names for the gate
in advance.
a week in advance.
Okay,
That was the only change that I know of.
Yeah.
Everybody was good about reading it, giving
Yeah.
input some things, so.
all right, so I'll make a motion that we are adding to the clubhouse rental agreement. If you have more than 10 cars or over 20 guests, you will need to give the names to the gate a week in advance.
Yes.
So that they can make arrangements.
Including other changes that came, because we added the insurance page, there's other things that David made changes to it.
Right.
Okay.
We already approved it.
Well, we approved the
Okay.
insurance, yeah, we approved the
Okay.
insurance,
Because we added.
These are the only
factors.
two additional changes that we
Okay.
just caught.
Correct.
yeah,
That was just.
I'll second it.
perfect.
I'm sorry, so it was the 10 cars or 20 gas.
20
We
gas,
need an
right.
additional security guard.
Is it, no, I think
No.
we're just
Now.
We're
No,
Notify us in
Noti-
advance.
them to a gate list a week in advance so the guards can be prepared.
correct.
Yeah, just so they know there's a party coming, they can,
Move this list through.
yeah, kind of maybe even familiarize themselves with the guest list, and that might help them recognize who's coming through the gate, that kind of stuff. Okay,
So,
Mark seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Perfect.
Real quick. Once we have the financials, I'll be able to share that we had excellent rental income.
Oh,
From
I can't wait to hear that.
facilities.
I can't wait to hear that also.
Moving very well, so much, we're over budget.
It's very,
Excited about that.
very, great. A very highly sought after facility we have here.
Absolutely.
That's where I'm going with that. Okay, basketball and padel court update. So I will give a very brief update on this since we've already discussed it. The basketball court the padel court has been approved. The permits have been approved. We are waiting on basketball, which should be any minute now, July 27th. So we're right around the corner for that. And then we believe we will begin breaking ground. I think we said mid-August. We will have a fence up, and we will begin breaking ground mid-August. Again, it's all gonna be up to, one, sports services and when they can get their people here, and two, we really need to do things. I don't want a bunch of people overlapping contractors. Then when issues arise, you've got multiple contractors in here, that poses its own problem. So the goal is to get the pavers out of the way, get the parking lot completed as long as permitting's in, and then work on on the padel court. However, the padel court and the parking lot are two completely separate entities, and they will not affect one or the other. Mark went over and met with the CEO, correct, of the company. And we've got some exciting opportunities that they are offering. I don't want to give too many details because nothing's in stone yet,
Right.
but I'm gonna actually be making a phone call to him tomorrow on my drive up to Atlanta. So I'll have plenty of time to discuss our wonderful project we have going. But with that, the ball is rolling. We are moving along, and we do expect to break ground mid-August. If not late August on Padel. I will, again, with everything, we'll put out a timeline, we'll put out maps where people can walk around, how you can now access courts 1 or 5 through 8. All of that will be set out in advance, and I ask everyone to please be patient with us. We'll also make it very clear that any damage to the curing process of both courts, as well as the curing process of the sidewalks, will be at the owner's expense. And so we will be passing along those very costly charges if people decide to damage them.
And then one other thing that one person has a very special interest about is the parking, because while we're doing the parking, clubhouse parking lot, we'll have to use
Yeah.
the area over here, and it's turned into mud. And it's a mess. We know that Epicurean uses it when they unload all their trucks and equipment. So I think we need to put some gravel and things over there or something, because we're gonna be using it, all the vehicles.
Yep.
For 2 weeks.
I agree
whatever it takes to
100%.
clubhouse.
Yeah, it might even be longer than that because I don't know how much of the paperwork. So I'll get some quotes on
Okay.
maybe getting some cheap pea gravel over there. I mean, I know we just did it for our property, and you can get like a whole truckload for.
We may want to consider like just some white paint to like line something, because if everybody's parking over there,
Yeah.
because we have tennis, obviously, the women's tennis Tuesday.
Fortunately, I feel like everyone managed when the clubhouse was shut down. I feel
Yes.
like
I was just going to say that.
people were really respectful of the space in the area. But I agree, it is a hot mess over there. And one way or another, we have to attend to that because you can't have a giant mud pit. That
Right.
looks terrible. So,
Worse.
No, I had a question though, really quick. Is there a benefit to us doing basketball and padel before the parking lot, like because of the trucks and
Yeah,
everything coming in? I'm just
So you
wondering.
you have to work whenever they're available.
yeah.
Because it's scheduled.
Like, I know that we're kind of at the mercy
And
of
the
that, but
One thing you have to take into account is for the price of oil right now,
Mm-hmm.
asphalt is an oil-based product. So if we said to the,
Wait.
all county paving,
yeah.
wait until that's done or vice versa, it's gonna drive up the cost.
Yeah,
So
it can. So
if
what?
these crews are available, you've got to.
I was
Yeah.
just thinking about,
It's a good thought.
So
I
we
would hate to
talked.
have this brand new beautiful parking lot and then we're bringing in.
We're not.
teams.
No.
Okay.
We talked to Sports Surfaces when we met with them on site. They're actually gonna come straight through this like corner on the other two of those big trees. And
Great.
the other side of that, whatever that box thing is there, they're gonna
Perfect.
come in through there. So
Perfect.
they've got enough space.
We gotta take out some of the hedges.
Yeah,
But that's a lot less expensive than fixing the parking lot.
right. We have to take out like 2 hedges, 2
Okay.
bushes, but
Yes.
we should be okay.
Really to that,
Yeah. Absolutely.
so on temporary parking,
Yeah.
I loved it. When you said it's a hot mess, because it has been since
I know.
the clubhouse. And back, I spoke with Ro about it last week, because I was over playing with our granddaughters, and she came over and so. If we could just have a remediation plan that would bring it back to what it was before we started the clubhouse project.
Right.
Because it reminds me of my grandfather's farm.
Yeah, it's pretty bad over there.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
It is. I will say, I think again, it's gonna go back to tree trimming because you can't grow anything under there with those giant trees that are over it. So that's gonna be our biggest tackle is what do we put down? I'm gonna be honest with you. I moved in here in 2019. The clubhouse started 2020? I don't remember what it looked like before. The disaster it's become.
We've been here for 25 years. Number one, until we started the clubhouse project, we didn't let anyone park there.
Right.
Including our neighborhood law people.
Mhm.
In my opinion, they can park on the street.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Wow, we should let them in there.
I agree with you on that, 100%.
And so anything we do, we need to protect the thing going forward.
Yeah.
And only on special occasions should be able to be permitted to pull that ballot out and go.
Yeah.
Rough nights or
It used to have grass, like it does.
Yeah.
You know, towards the western part. It's just that area right there. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. It used to be,
I definitely think we can get grass like behind courts 1 through 4 up to where those 2 big trees start. I definitely think we could get grass back up to that point for sure. I just don't want to go spend money on grass and then the grass dies and then you gotta like
Well, people are
regrass.
working on it, you already know that's gonna die, so.
fix us gravel and
Yeah.
elevate it.
Yeah, I think,
It's something that we get away from these ruts that then hold water.
I agree.
And they hold water forever because the sunlight doesn't get.
Right.
It would be
Yeah.
much to just grade it real quick and then throw the gravel, and I think that's definitely the best
They're just
solution.
gonna raise it up.
Yeah.
Anything, almost anything.
Well,
Yes.
it's on our plate, I promise. On our plate.
And are we still on the?
Yes, go ahead.
So real quick.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate, everybody, being so receptive to my suggestions last month. It was so much fun being here that I've come for the study. I just want to throw it. Was pretty out. I sent you, well, I didn't go on vacation, I apologize.
It's okay.
I sent you that letter today. I just want to ask if you all as a board could please consider a more robust plan for how we're gonna handle I'll call them glass panels when we take them down, anticipating the storm. And I clearly understand and heard what David responded in your absence because you were on vacation about they're gonna be stacked and down, sandbagged and all that. But my perspective changed 2 years ago when Hurricane Milton hit, and I sent you that photo of a full-size dumpster that got lifted off of a driveway and deposited on the roof of a house in Wellington.
Yeah.
Also in that same.
Yeah, those were all those hurricanes or those tornadoes. Remember all those tornadoes went through there?
Tornadoes were embedded.
Yeah.
But also, and I can send you the photos, but also what struck me even more so was the same, Port St. Lucie, Sheriff's Department storage facility is made of steel beams. And those steel beams were twisted like spaghetti. Steel beams welded together. And there were vehicles in there for the Sheriff's Department that were over $250,000.
Yeah.
And they got badly damaged. And they were like Sherman tanks.
No, one thing I can tell you is that Mark, in his extreme due diligence in tracking these people down, he was able to discuss with the CEO the option of some stronger supports, and that is something I'm going to discuss with him tomorrow. So I'm going to discuss at length with him tomorrow the options of the stronger supports, the options of our different options of glass and what that means for us, if we have to take it down and up, how much we have to take it down and up, that all becomes a factor. The other factor is, I think Jen brought up a really great point today. Do we have like a hurricane preparedness plan in place? To the best of my knowledge, we don't. We might, don't quote me on that. I've not seen one come across my table. So I think that's something we need to put into place. We've got all this beautiful new furniture we just spent all this money on, these gorgeous cabanas people love. So there is going to be, we do need to create, we've been blessed beyond measure over the last 10 years, let's say. And so we do really, I think, sometimes when things don't happen, you just get complacent. And I think we've gotten complacent on the hurricane side of things. We have windscreens that all need to come down. So, just like the tennis courts need to be protected, the padel court needs to be protected, the basketball court, those things need to, everything needs, at the end of the day, we've got this gorgeous new clubhouse. So I think we do need to work with someone, put a plan in place for padel, for tennis, for all of us, for the pool. And so I think, remember back in like the 90s, we just threw everything in the pool. That was so easy and great. Now we can't do that anymore. So,
I actually have a hotel preparedness plan for storms that's probably pretty similar to
Yeah.
what we could do here because of the size of the property. I can make available and we can just edit accordingly.
that'd be
and
so great, Kristen. if
That
you
way
don't
we're
mind
not
taking
having to
charge.
start, I already made a note.
That would be
I
great.
started one,
Mhm.
but I think I didn't get.
That would be awesome. And then Mark had
Yeah.
said something to me along the lines of, when you talk to the CEO, maybe we can negotiate like a 1-year maintenance plan in with our first year. I will even maybe see if we can't do 2 years if we don't use in the first year. So it is definitely on my plate. It's something that I'm addressing. I don't anticipate, sometimes it's hard to foresee the amount of work and the amount of what something's going to be when when we're foreshadowing it. And so I think that we will do the best we can, as we are with everything else, to make sure that the Padel Court is protected and everyone around the Padel Court is protected as well. I mean, they do put these on, like in Miami, they're all on the roofs of the buildings.
Right.
So like that's where they're putting them in Miami.
They're popping up all over the
all
Tri
over the
County area.
roofs.
There's,
I
if you
just
look
want to
there-
add one thing, sorry to interrupt, is that when we talked to Boca Grove and Addison, we followed up with them. Tim Carey followed up with them recently, and they mentioned they don't take the courts down. They do have HVAC rated glass. And that's where our conversation, when I spoke to Mark the other day, came into play, where it's kind of like the windows behind you all right now. It's like there's different frames every however many feet. And the original panoramic construction of the Padel had frames that allowed for like something like a 12 to 16 foot run of glass that's butted next to each other with silicone in between. And that is less structurally sound, even if it's HVAC glass. And Mark was under the impression that we could upgrade to the one with a post in between, which is slightly more buttressed for perhaps no additional cost. And after we spoke to Addison, I initially thought it was a little crazy. And then realized, they have pretty significant risk procedures they go through. And so as we followed up to that, Mark took the initiative to email our insurance broker and asked if, in the event of a storm, just like our building and other contents, if Padel broke or went down, would it be covered? He said, yeah, sure, as long as it's on the schedule of covered items. So basically, no matter what it costs, I mean, it's probably 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. We should clarify if it will increase our premiums, but basically, in my mind, there's no amount of premium that it could cost that wouldn't make it worth insuring something that we're investing in about $150,000. So the insurance premium cost, to the extent there even is any, will be lower than any takedown or put up cost. And, just like Craig said, these tornadoes that come through if we had truly had a superstorm, we've got a lot more to worry about than Padel courts, and we need that disaster preparedness plan. And reading through the previous minutes, like I did yesterday, there was a big special assessment last time this happened. So there's a lot of things that need to happen, but I guess I believe we should prepare for all contingencies, but I think overall this is a fairly minor issue. It would be, in my mind, like saying we shouldn't build the clubhouse because we'd have to pay Centos to come, and cleaners to come.
Yeah.
Just
Thank you.
make one more cut real quick. Yeah, I'm not suggesting we shouldn't build the Padel court.
No, we know.
That's not.
We know you're not. We know you're not.
Oh, Craig, one thing for you. I don't know if was Craig there in the beginning when I did the procurement stuff?
No, and I was just gonna say.
He wasn't.
No, David Monero gave a very in-depth overview of the entire timeline of every decision that was made and how we actually got to this point in the beginning of this meeting.
Yeah, you
So-
walked in right
Yeah.
at the tail end of it.
Sorry, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I'm all clear that, I had a couple of questions and
Yes.
I'm good.
It explains it too, also how we got to those
I
parts.
just was, because those glass panels weighing 440 pounds, if air gets under that and they're lifted and they become a projectile, there's gonna be a lot more damage than a couple of these bar stools or umbrellas going.
Not any more than the roof tiles on my neighbor's side yard or our neighbor's house that's falling apart, like, trust me, there's so many things.
Her house, I need more than her house, that's for sure.
Right.
We might want tornado to take that out, but.
Yes.
Strike that from the record. But just real quick.
You said, not me.
I know it's late. I'm just saying, we have the damage concern, but we also have, regardless of what your insurance premium is, we have a liability concern. And we just want to be sure we have
Yeah.
a robust plan. That's all I'm.
I agree with you 100%. We are in agreement that we need a plan. We need to make sure if we need a budget, we have a budget, that we have a company that's willing to do it. I think, we also, fortunately, we have a few months until I think we're going to need this, and we will miss this hurricane season. If the timeline is correct from sports services, we will not have to worry about it for this year. It will be for 2027. The panels probably won't be up till November. So we are very lucky that we'll miss it.
I'll just share, so Sports Services gave us a quote, we're not in a position to share it because we don't have 3 quotes yet, but it is very expensive. It's almost, we could replace the kit itself almost for the price of what they quoted to take down the house. So we need to get more quotes.
Yeah.
It is specialized, it needs to be a glass company that's used to handling, to think about a name storms out there, you got 35, 45 mile an hour winds coming in. That's a sale for these guys to try and grab a 400 piece of glass and that's trying to move it. So it's timing, how many Jim Grunza months ago had mentioned, like how much pre-notice do they need, who's gonna do it. So as part of the hurricane plan, we need to get more quotes. Fortunately, we have a little bit of time. The other thing driving us is Alexis, and Campbell's very good about telling us about this budget. So we need to put money in the budget for next year in order to account for, do we take it down once and put it back up twice, 3 times during the season? And, can we drive that cost down?
Yeah.
So we're gonna push a little bit harder. The president CEO is the nicest guy, and he's like, for what you guys are spending, want to get the deluxe, which as David mentioned, that's the upgraded, more bracing. And I said, man, this guy's so nice. Let's go see if they'll throw in an annual contract too.
I'm usually pretty good at negotiating things. I'll
So
do my best.
we're never tag team, so.
I'll do my best to get as much as I can out of him. Don't worry.
Always ask.
You can always ask, and they can always say no, and you can always say okay. But we'll throw out more than we need to get. But yes, it is. I wish I had more of an answer for you right now. I don't.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah.
What I'd wanted to share with Craig was not
Yes.
David's go.
Go ahead, David.
what I wanted to share with Craig was not the fun at the beginning, but the procurement contracting guidelines. And Craig, I'll email you those, but we prepared 43 pages or so of templates and procurement contracting guidelines in response to your comments, which were very well taken. And I would love your input on them, so we will send them to you.
Thank you. I was here for that, and I'm sure it's way over my head. I'm not an attorney, but thank you. I'll look at it. But thank you.
Clearly extensive.
Yeah.
Clearly extensive. So okay, but yes, it's on our mind. It's something Mark and I and David discuss regularly. So once we are able to give you a more solid answer, I will definitely, and I'll keep you in the loop. Like once we get another quote from another company, here's how they do it. Here's how they.
Any personal fault? No.
You probably won't get a personal follow up, but you're definitely probably not. If I'm my community, I try. But we're busy people over here, so I try to get everyone's questions answered in a timely manner. But yes, it is something we are working towards. So you're welcome. Okay, quickly, wall and hedge update. Unfortunately, I don't have much of an update for that. It's in permitting. The city of Boca is breathing down our neck, and we're in permitting, so they can't. There's not much I can do, and it's them that's doing it. So I've been back and forward. I don't want this decision to fall on me. So before I make the decision, although I think I might have made it today, but I don't want to make the decision on my own. And I think I've CC'd Mark and Kristen on these emails. I have pressed these arborists, pressed them as hard as I can on the plant type to put back there. And I have fought for Clusia. Trust me, I have fought because that is the only plant I want along our hedge. And the like resounding answer that I get is that it's just not the best choice. And I'm not, the one that they are suggesting is arbicola, which is this hedge around whatever that box is in front of the volleyball court. Yeah, that's what they're suggesting, which makes a gorgeous hedge if it fills in, and if it looks like that, it's actually a very beautiful hedge. I think prettier than Calusia, but at the end of the day, it does get very leggy and lengthy. And it gets kind of holy. I call it leggy, but that's the best word I can use for it.
Answer was,
Yes.
What's that?
and her answer was.
And her
What
answer was, you can plant more underneath it because it's a shaded tree that grows in shade. So the cocoa plum was an option they gave us. That's the one with little red tips. I think that's a great plant. I don't think it's very pretty, but I think it grows a really nice hedge. But unfortunately, one, it's a little more expensive, and two, the problem is that it needs more space than the like little tiny space that we have to grow these trees in. So I don't see us able to do anything other than arbicola. I actually do think we could get away with Calusia along Potomac, and I have a house on Military, so I'd love to put it behind Military, but the shade there is just way more than the shade is on Potomac. So I actually think Potomac would be fine if we wanted two separate kinds of hedges. The other question is, that family in the corner did plant all that Calusia.
Actually, no.
Was that you?
When I was president.
Oh, I thought they planted that.
We planted it because a previous board planted bamboo.
Oh,
And
that's
it was
unfortunate.
horrible. The corner house in the very.
Yeah, that
Right on Potomac.
where they've got a gorgeous Calusia
Yeah, that
hedge.
huge corner. She has the whole
It's
corner.
beautiful, that whole thing.
Oh.
So we have to decide, are we just gonna leave it and then do everything else arbicola?
I love the idea of Clusia down there. And Clusia's very affordable as we know.
I think it would grow just fine down there. I would have to go against
Yeah,
our arborists, but,
We're limited because of the irrigation too.
right.
Some of the plants.
Portocarpus is out, 100%. Portocarpus is out. I won't do that. I won't make that
Right.
decision. Cocoa plum, I
I like the
asked
idea of Clusia there and then.
arbicola
Fall on
here.
the other
Cause
side.
you got a lot more shade here, that.
It's
has more
very
sun.
open. I've driven past it 100 times. I've walked it. I've looked there. It's very open and sunny there. I think we could grow a gorgeous Clusia hedge down there.
Sure.
The other issue, and I say these all wrong, by the way, I know they've corrected me a dozen times, so I apologize if I'm mispronouncing the words, but the other thing is that there is this like rumor amongst the arborists that they do believe some kind of bug is going to come for the Clusia just because just like it did for the ficus. That's what happens when everyone rips everything out and plants the exact same thing over and over and over again. So that is something else I am trying to take into consideration. They're like, I don't know, it could be 20 years from now, it could be next year. And I'm like, well, that's not very reassuring for me. So it's not an easy decision to like put back this very expensive hedge, but I want everyone to know that I have I've gone into so many details and I've pressed them, and whether I think we go with Clusia along that side and arbicola here or arbicola the whole way, I don't think we can go wrong. So that's sort of where I'm at with the hedge. And I don't have a time frame start date on that because that just entered permitting. Tree trimming, that's gonna be, so we got an RFP from Greenscapes. They laid out what they feel like should happen to the trees. Let me back this up because this is a little more of an explanation. I really feel like I'm talking to myself right now, but
Nope,
it is recorded, so I guess whoever wants to listen later can.
And it's on the record.
It's on the record, I guess. So, so our trees were cut in 22, and then our trees were cut again in 24. The perimeter, I cannot find record of when the perimeter trees were cut. Like I've gone back, I've asked, I can't find record of when those perimeter trees were trimmed. So in the last, what I could guess, 6 years, they have not been trimmed. A tree is supposed to be trimmed. I've learned a lot about trees, by the way, being the president of an HOA.
So next you'll be in our.
Yeah, I might go get my degree. Never know. Be a lot more relaxing, that's for sure. So trees are supposed to be trimmed 25%, or should I say they can only be trimmed 25% per year. If you trim more, you risk the compromising the tree structure. And they really should be trimmed that 25%. Obviously, these trees have gone 6 years. They're well beyond what we can, that 25%. So what I've asked is that we trim at minimum the perimeter trees up to 25%. Both the tree trimming companies and the arborists have agreed that not only do our trees need to be pruned up, what's happened is they've been trimmed, that they're all very top heavy. They also need to be reduced. So the size of the trees need to be reduced as well as being trimmed up. It's a big project. Like, this is a big undertaking. And I want to make it, and our trees are at a mature state, which is another issue that we're dealing with. So when your trees are early on, they don't require as much work as they do when they get to a mature state. They require a lot more maintenance and work throughout time. So what I think the point is to make here is, one, I'm not a tree hugger in any way, but I know it sounds like I am, but I'm not. But I had a birthday party a year ago for my son, and people from Parkland and Wellington and all these other neighborhoods outside of Boca came into this beautiful community we live in. And the one thing they said to me was, "Oh my gosh, there's a neighborhood like Parkland in Boca. We didn't know we could find a neighborhood with big, beautiful trees and parks." And I think the trees are what make us. It's one of our key aspects of our community. And so as much as I don't want to invest a ton of money into tree trimming, trust me, that's the last place I want to put it. Unfortunately, our hands are against the fire, and we need to take care of our trees because they have not been well maintained. They have not been well trimmed. They have not been well taken care of in quite some time. With that said, we're going to have to make some very difficult decisions, this board. I have some very preliminary notes based on the RFP, which I hope you guys are sitting down for. Numbers, I asked 2 other companies to give me a guesstimate. Since I don't actually have a contract or a bid in place just yet, we will probably have to do a special meeting to make the bid happen, just so that way we can get these trimmings done before hurricane season really ramps up. But I asked for 2 companies to give me a guesstimate of what they would charge to buy the RFP to trim all the swale trees and all the perimeter trees. So we're not touching the park trees, okay? So one company came back at $160,000, and another company came back at $130,000 for their guesstimate. And I was like I had to take a moment, and I had to take a deep breath, and I was like, that's a lot more than I had ever anticipated or expected it would cost. Where the decision on us comes in play, the difficult decision, is we have to decide, are we willing to pull from, we were going to have to pull from reserves for this. And I'm not saying we have to make this decision now because we don't have the bids. I just want everyone to be aware of where we're at, price-wise. Are we going to, I think personally, we have to do the perimeter trees this year. I think it's a non-negotiable. I think we're spending a lot of money on a hedge, a lot of money on a wall. These trees are unstable. They fall on Military or Potomac. They fall on someone's home. They fall on our new hedge or wall. We're putting ourselves in a very negligent place if we don't address the perimeter trees. I think we have to address the perimeter trees. The very brief discussion I had with one person was that to do the perimeter trees right is about $60,000 to do them right. Now, that doesn't mean we have to do everything to them. That's a full size reduction and a full trim up of those perimeter trees. I think that's non-negotiable. When it comes to the swale trees, outside of Comcast, it is my number 2 complaint from residents, hands down. People are very concerned about their swale trees. They want the trees trimmed. They feel like they're dangerous. I've got complaints about the root structures. I can't do much about that right now. We, as I explained to one of the residents, we are going to handle the roots like triage. The worst are going to come out, and future boards are going to have to address these issues. I can only do so much on this board. I can't go rip out all the swale trees. But we can, address the most pertinent ones up front this year. Next year, I won't be on the board, but the board can address the next 5 or 6 or whatever the number is, and then the following year. So this is a recurring issue. It's going to have to be a budget item that is recurring in our budget every single year. It's going to have to be a non-negotiable budget item. It can't be something we rob trees for somewhere else. It just can't happen. And the other thing I've also come to realize is that I think last year, and I was on the board, I'm the first one to admit I was on the board when we only put 5,000 in the tree trimming budget. And I really tried to go back and think, like, why did we make that decision? And I really believe, when I think about it, I think it was that we all agreed that we could wait one more year on the trees. We had all this other work coming up. We had all these other projects we were taking on, and the trees could probably wait one more year. I don't remember, I'm not saying that's the reason we did it, but if I had to go back and think about it in my very mom brain head, I think that's what we had come down to. Anyway, with that said, we had to make some tough decisions, and I think tree trimming got asked. So we are back in that boat again this year. I think we need to work very hard to make sure we're not in that boat next year. And the other thing I think is that we had put, tree trimming every other year. If we did tree trimming every year, swale trees 1 year, park trees 1 year, perimeter trees every 2 years. If we did it every year, it'd be a much smaller budget. We're not going to get hit with this massive budget that we can't afford.
Yeah.
It's like maintenance. You fix something very small all the time, and you wait till it breaks, you got to replace the whole darn thing. So I don't know. I would like a discussion. I would like for you guys to give me your opinions. If you think we should do perimeter and swale, I don't have exact numbers for you on what this is going to cost us. I can give you an idea. I think we're going to have a lot of very unhappy residents if we don't do the swale trees. I also don't want to take that huge chunk out of reserves. So this is something I think we need to make as a group. Yes, Rocky, I'm going to back up. So I feel like my back is touchy.
Because I love trees.
Good, me too. I love trees too, clearly.
If we put more money into pruning and trimming and taking care of them in your quest for knowledge there, will it make the trees more stable and more safe, or does the root system have nothing to do with what you do at the top?
So when it comes to the root system, it is based on how the time of the tree and how big the tree grows over time. Most of these trees have been in this community for 40, 50 years. So their root systems at the bottom are always going to get bigger, 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 even if the top is smaller. I don't know the exact answer to that. I can definitely get you that answer from Hillary. She would be able to tell you that like tomorrow.
I think it's worth
I think so too, 100%.
Makes absolutely.
Because if that makes right.
And makes everybody feel more comfortable, nothing's gonna fall in their homes.
Well, it definitely makes the trees safer.
Yeah.
100%. When we were in the meeting with Greenscapes, he looked out at this tree and was like, you see that? You see how that shoots off there? Like, that's very dangerous. I mean, we just had half a tree fall down over here out of nowhere. The thing broke and literally it would have killed someone if they were standing underneath it 100%.
Their own space. I mean, if trees get crowded,
of course,
things get dangerous and things don't
work
properly, and that uplifts the ground, uplifts your sidewalks, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
So I'm all in favor of putting more money on right now or regularly.
Yes.
With the trees to keep them all safer, and I love that they're part of the neighborhood.
Yes, I do.
Really special.
I agree for sure. I mean, when we were renting in Lotus, in the beginning of our renovations, one of the first things that we were impacted by as a family was when we would walk outside with the dogs or take the kids out, there was no trees. It was such a naked community. I mean, beautiful homes, great clubhouse, but there was no trees.
Yeah.
Like the minute we got back into Boca, it was like, it was like a breath of fresh air.
Absolutely.
It's like, you're right. It's definitely,
I can't tell you like how these people were just enamored by like how beautiful our trees were.
I think like everything else, Brittany, like you identified, it's one of those things we need to essentially rip off the Band-Aid, get it done right. And then, we may have to bite the bullet, but then it's gonna be worth it in the long run, because then we just maintain it. And then every year we know this is our plan and this is what's going on, because it's been neglected.
The budget will have to be set.
It can't be neglected anymore.
I see you, Craig.
So go ahead, Chris.
Agreed. This was the second thing I wanted to come and share with you all. The tree thing, I think, is part of being, maybe it's come together with, trying to be cost conscious.
Yeah.
And I respect that over the years. But, and I haven't said this to any of you on the board, but I've said it to the previous board members. Jenny and I would love to pay a lot more in our semi-annual assessments to have a better neighborhood. And I'm all for managing the cost, but I'm also for generating revenue to build a better, in this case, community resident company. And I would just like us to think out of the box and think, how can we rip off the Band-Aid? How can we protect what I think is the second greatest asset in this neighborhood? The neighbors are, the people are number one, and the trees, in my opinion, are number two. So, and I think, and there's also anxiety, as you're expressing, because people are concerned that their house is taking damage from a swale tree.
Yeah.
And I would just encourage you all to do what it takes to maybe a special assessment. Maybe if you don't feel comfortable with that, then take out reserves and increase the head out of the budget next year.
Yeah.
To not only take care of it that year and plan going forward, but to backfill the money that came out of reserve this year.
Yeah.
To do the thing right and make this neighborhood a better place, safer place, and protect our home value. There's no downside other than people are going to gripe. Some people are going to gripe. The budget went up 8% instead of 2%.
Thank you, Craig, for that perspective. Because I really appreciate. Listen, I really appreciate that perspective because I want everyone to be very aware that I'm not just openly, willing to just write a check and say, yes, let's do this and let's do this and let's do that. My husband would disagree with that comment. But when it comes to this, I'm very cost conscious and I don't want to just open a can of worms. But I feel like we are this is a very important topic for our neighborhood. I think it's a very heated conversation only because people are very upset. I've got emails almost regularly. I'm sure Ro gets them too about, and I know Mark's gotten them too, about the concern of the quality of our trees. And I think that's what has resonated with me in learning all of this. Our trees are not in good standings right now. Our trees they need to be taken care of very specifically. They all need to be reduced in size and that they are very top heavy. We've spent a lot of years pruning up, but not pruning down. It's got to come from both angles.
It'll preserve their
yes,
healthy.
it'll preserve their lifespan. Yeah. It will preserve our insurance because the risk of damage is I think there are things in insurance that says like if it's a natural disaster then it's really we're not liable, but if they can find us negligent on the trees and not trimming then we would be liable. So I think this is a very important conversation that we need to have. I'm not just going to make this decision on my own. I want everyone's input, but I appreciate you recognizing that the budget does have to increase to include taking care of our trees. And our trees are only, I'm gonna get myself in some trouble, but I feel like I've aged too. But as we age, we tend to require more care and we tend to get more expensive.
Oh, you're gonna say more pruning. I was gonna say, I can't do anything else. Do I need a haircut? What's next for me?
Maintenance.
No, you're the only audience member.
They do. Listen, as women, we also require a lot more work.
That's racist.
That's sexist. Men do too.
Right.
It's very sexist. Men do too.
Background.
Anyway, as we listen, it's the same situation.
It is.
The trees require more work, they require more maintenance, and they require more money as they age. And that's what I've learned.
So the next step at this point is what? What do you think?
Well, Mark, tell me what
So
your
first, you need to release the RFP to everybody, because we
Right.
all need
sure.
big budget item. We haven't seen it, so we need to get.
I'll get that to you. I do think I'm gonna.
Well, we already knew that was coming next, but I mean, is there anything else that?
Well, let me, before we release it, I need to speak with Hillary.
Okay.
Because there was, there was a complaint that it wasn't as thorough as it should have been. So I wanna make sure that what we are sending out is what we paid for, because we did pay for the RFP.
Right.
So I wanna make sure that it's thorough, that it describes everything. So before we send it out, let's make sure it's where it needs to be, and then we'll send it out.
And to your point too, about talking about lots of people in residents saying, we've had people actually pay to trim their own trees. Some people are still saying, give me the RFP, I'll pay to do my own trees in front of my house. I mean, it's gotten to that point. Different trees require different maintenance, different
Right.
trimming. We know from root systems, talking to the arborists, that if you start grinding roots and things, we talked about it for the sidewalks, you may damage to the tree to the point that it's not safe. Because some of them have
Yes.
surface roots, some have deep roots. The one thing I learned, to your question, Rocky, as wide as the growth of the tree is, that's how wide the roots are gonna go out.
Yeah.
So if you
Typically,
start
but it
to that,
depends.
that's just a rule of thumb.
Yeah.
Some correlation.
Maybe if we trim it back, we can protect the roots on the sidewalks.
Yeah.
I've got a big black olive tree in front of my garage, and they tell me if I don't trim it, it's gonna feed my foundation of my house and things, so.
I can tell you how much fun that is, so
The
yeah.
sad part is, there
Thanks, Dad.
should, in the budget, there should be, in a perfect world, instead of various boards sitting, we used to have not only a tree trimming budget every year, and we trim the trees in the swales every single year. We actually planted trees.
Yeah.
And we had fertilization, we had the fields being sprayed every year. There should be certain things that are just not, can't be touched by anyone.
Non-negotiables.
Yeah.
And what happens, somebody's got a pet project that they wanna do this, and wanna do that, and that's an easy one.
Non-negotiables.
The clubhouse, when we started the last clubhouse committee, we had 150,000 for the clubhouse renovation. After 20 years, it was sad. So people would chip away at things like, oh, trees and clubhouse, we're not gonna do it again. So let's just steal.
We need to
from
hit
there.
the reset on the tree.
So-
Again,
All right.
we're robbing Peter to pay Paul, and
Right.
it's gotta
So I
stop.
think we move forward with the
So
RFP
keep the RFP
process.
distributed.
Yes. Well,
Anybody
I'll
in
take
those three companies, I don't care if they're from Miami or anything else. You know, if you got friends and family that are in the tree business or.
Yeah, we've
you
got,
know,
we're gonna get 4 quotes right now. Like, you don't have to.
It's a lot of money.
We're gonna say, we may not hear very often, but there's a lot of neighbors that do appreciate you.
Thank you.
We do feel that love, Craig, thank
Thank you,
you.
Craig.
It just actually figured you out.
I
David's normally on there, and George, don't forget George.
I'm your thorn.
know. Mark's gotta deal with us.
It's not too late to join next year, Craig.
Oh, I don't think yes.
Now,
So I think, you know, because it is gonna be a big number, we need to just reach out far and wide.
my goal in tonight, though, is that I don't want, I mean, we've already paid for the RFP for the swale and the perimeter trees. I don't think, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, don't think we need to include park trees this year. I think we can budget that. Again, something else we really need to consider.
We put it on the radar though for next year.
Yeah, is that when we're gonna need to figure this out next year in the budget, is that if we cut the trees like in February, March, it's a lot cheaper than if we cut the trees now, because now everyone's cutting their trees. So that's also gonna have to be like some kind of shift where we shift that to February, March, April even. And the trees aren't gonna grow back that fast anyway. So I think I just don't wanna go out there and have all these guys come out and quote me for swale trees and perimeter trees, and then we say, we're only doing the perimeter trees. Or, so that's sort of where I'm at tonight. It sounds like everyone's on board with doing both projects. But I
Initially.
just don't want to go out there and have all these guys, and then they get upset with us because we've strung them along. I mean, it's the quote is, it takes hours for them to get
Sure.
this quote together.
Dave,
But the
Dave,
yeah,
It's a
have-
huge
Yeah.
quote.
And we also have other priorities that I know we're not talking on that topic, but you know, we have to deal with the sidewalk issue. And that's, again, we were talking about grinding the roots
Yeah.
for the trees. and trying to do something more permanent rather than just pulling up a square, cutting some roots there.
Right.
Yeah,
Maybe grinding the roots back, maybe a plate or something.
that,
Talk about that.
honestly, that's on me. I just haven't had time. I've been trying kind of prioritizing some of these other things that have been popping up quickly and been stalled and delayed dealing with other stuff. So, you know, that's another issue when there's like constant rhetoric that's coming in that's non-productive. It does take time away from me being able to do things like figure out what we're going to do about that problem. One of the things I would love is if someone else would love to take on the sidewalks. Hillary is great. I was super skeptical of them at first. I thought, why are we paying like an arborist? It's ridiculous, but they know what they're doing and they know how to protect our trees.
And they know the city. But
And they know the city of Boca very well. And she is phenomenal when it comes to dealing with them. And the only reason that we've been able to keep the city at bay is because of her. So she is going to meet with, you know, myself, Ro, and if someone else wants to take on the project, she will meet with us. We were going to walk and, like I said, kind of do triage where she said, and I'm speaking from the arborist, not from me. Some of these trees in the swales need to go, and new trees need to be planted that are less of a large root structure. Some of them need to be removed completely. Like we can't just chop the leg off. You'll chop the leg off, you're going to topple the tree. So we have to decide, and that's again, you know, for their recommendations. Do we take that money we've already passed and remove 5 trees this year in the swale and replace those 5 trees? Or do we take the money and stump grind, you know, a few of the trees and then fix those sidewalks? So there's some big decisions we have to make. And
I almost feel like it would behoove us as a board to have a separate tree and sidewalk meeting.
yeah, I mean,
Like we really, like, I feel like this is just way deeper and more.
it's a lot. Like,
And you need more help and support with this.
I
Like I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, like her shoulders are the size of a
too.
linebacker right now.
I
Like,
appreciate
can't-
that because the
So-
reason we haven't gotten to it is because I've just been prioritizing these other projects.
Rightfully so, but I do
And-
think that we should have a separate meeting
Yeah.
because of the A, cost, and B, necessity.
It's equally as important, if not
The scope
more
of work.
important than
Yeah.
some of these other things we're doing.
Maybe have Hillary come and do like a Q&A for like an hour Q&A with
I
the
can-
community, you know?
That's a
what I
good
mean?
idea. I like that idea,
Talk
Rob.
about their swale
Mhm.
trees, the people that are saying, oh, you
I
know,
like that a lot, and why we're having to
Open
make these
forum.
difficult
Yeah,
decisions.
maybe by doing some myth busting on
Yeah,
what
I'll
we
do
can
that
and
for
can't do,
sure.
right?
I'll get with her on that because that is the problem is that like I can tell you I've learned so much in the last couple weeks dealing with these trees
I know.
and it's crazy and I didn't realize one what a huge problem this is for the neighborhood and 2 how difficult it is to protect them the right way. And it's definitely like I said not something we want to lose because it is our like gem of our neighborhood. So I will go ahead and move forward with the swale and perimeter trees. It sounds like that's where everyone is headed in their mind frame.
don't assume anything. I would say get separate quotes for
separate,
each.
yeah.
We can do that too,
Split it
like,
into 2. In fact, I would split it into maybe even 3 and do the park trees as the third.
yeah, I don't want to prioritize the park trees only because I have to be honest. I mean, well, outside of my giant park tree in my backyard that's running my patio, I feel like the park trees don't pose as the same
Right.
threat to the
I was
homes
gonna say
They
three.
don't.
as the swale trees do. Again, outside of my.
Or
park tree.
leave them off this year and just.
That's the
put on the
plan.
agenda for next year.
The plan is to leave the park trees off this year entirely and to focus on them next year. And then we'll focus on, because here's the kicker is that we're not going to be able to do to these trees what we need to be able to do
Right.
to these trees just this year.
Shot.
Exactly. So we're gonna be able to like, you know, we get a trim and then next year we get a trim and then we get another trim and then we get it to where it needs to be. So the work is going to be continuous. It's just a huge number because it's a huge amount of work right now.
1,260 trees, 63 trees.
Yeah. 1,263 trees that we are responsible for
That
maintaining.
we are talking about getting proposals for trimming right now.
Yeah.
So actually, the numbers you gave me are actually like bargains,
Yeah,
realistically.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's crazy. Then I mean,
1,260.
63.
yeah. It's It's a
Well, like I
huge
said, I don't
amount.
wanna just keep beating it down now. I do
Yeah.
think that I think we drop a big pin in this and make it a
Yeah.
priority to have a conversation to discuss the RFP, the scope of work, all of the things.
I'll get the RFP out to everyone. I will ask Hillary to update it and get it back to us by Friday, and I will have the RFP in everyone's hands by Friday. I'm gonna be honest with you all.
Aren't you going away?
I am, but it's okay. I'm going to the bench. I did just get back. That was vacation. This is like kids' sports.
This is necessity.
Not a vacation.
I didn't take
Um,
a vacation.
Yeah, this is not vacation.
I've had my hand up a while. I'd like to just comment. We
Sure.
hired a consultant a couple of years ago, and he says we're wasting our money trimming the trees, all the trees every year. And he gave us a proposal. He says you need to have a certain number of trees this year, and then so many trees the next year. Have you talked to our consultant to get his input?
Yes, we have talked to the consultant, and the consultant feels as if we are very negligent on our trees.
Behind.
Our trees are in not good condition.
They weren't touched last year, well into this year.
It's been multiple years
Yes.
where
It's not
where
like-
nothing was done. So
Yes.
now we're backed against the wall having to make a tough decision.
Right. The advice of what I've understood, and I don't know who gave that advice because I wasn't on the board then, the advice of doing something every other year or every third year is more costly than the advice of maintaining something every single year in a small scope versus having to project a much larger scope every 3 years or every 2 years. It just doesn't pan out. So we have been advised, Greenscapes is our advising company, and they have actually advised us to do a lot more than what the RFP has given. And I've had to tell them, we just can't afford that. Like we have to do, I need like the bare bone minimum of what has to go down. And that's what they're giving me. And I will tell you, I looked at that RFP and it might as well be like gibberish.
Yeah.
I have no idea what it means. I don't get it. I'm assuming tree people have their own language, but it's like F1 and A2 and this, that. And I'm like, what the heck is F1? So,
We can get it
The
broken
city
down.
changed the rules frequently too, because the city wanted everything trimmed up.
yes,
Now they changed the top, now they want it topped and pulled
trim
down,
down.
and it's like, they
Well,
never
once
did
it
that
gets
for
top
10
heavy, I
years.
think they realize and things start falling
Oh,
over, they realize there's
Yeah.
problems. So I did get some advice on the RFP. The RFP needs to be tweaked and updated a little bit. They didn't feel like it encompassed exactly what it should. So I'll get those tweaks done. I'll get the RFP out and then we'll get the quotes. We will, if I can get the quotes before the August meeting, I will call a special meeting so we can get this decision made because we have got these people like at this point can't get us in before September, October. Like we've got to move on this quick. Okay, tree trimming. Check, but I just want everyone to understand where we stand.
That is
So that was
yeah.
the point, that very long, lengthy
Just
explanation.
with shell shock, so you did.
Yeah, I
you were very
know.
effective.
I'm sorry, it was a shell shock to me as well. I hate
It's
it.
actually $100 a tree, being 150.
Yeah,
Tree, just amazing.
That's why I said it's actually,
So-
I didn't know the number of trees, but now that I do know the number of trees, that number sounds a lot less scary. Which
Yeah.
is why I also think that Rose's suggestion, was top notch to have a Q&A because
yeah, I agree.
when you hear that number like that,
Yeah.
it's like,
Trust me, I was like getting dressed and I was like, wait, hold on.
right, exactly, right.
There's no way. There's absolutely no
Yeah.
way. So anyway, I agree. I was like, it's a
Yeah.
big number to swallow. All right.
Committee review,
Committee
tough act to
review.
follow.
Yeah, committee review. This is just very quick change. I don't know if I need to make a motion because it's committees. I don't think I need to make a motion for this, but we are adding Tim Carey back to the finance committee.
Yes.
And we are adjusting the ARB,
And
Heidi, we're adding Heidi back on.
she was always on the committee, we missed her.
I'm sorry, so we're
Right.
Heidi's on the committee and then is,
One, it's stepped aside, so she resigned.
she stepped aside. Okay, so she is now off the ARB committee and Heidi is still on it,
Right.
remains on it, and Tim Carey is gonna be added back to finance committee. So that's that. New business, we already did. Yay, adjournment. Thank you guys.
Mark second, all second,
Right before 9 o'clock, hurry up.
I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to drag things out even longer, but when we sent, I made a note of a few things and I'll send it. So before we do our next president's message or whatever, we have to address people's dogs not being on leashes.
Oh, okay.
It's making me crazy for a couple of reasons. First of all, like I have a few neighbors that they just randomly walk around with their dog.
Be any reason. It's
Like,
the law.
It's
It's
first
the
of
law.
all, it's the law.
Yeah.
Second of all, they go to the bathroom wherever they want, and
Yes.
if you're
Yeah.
not walking with them, how do you know where to go and pick it up? You don't. It's gross. I have two small dogs, and my dogs are terrified. There's a couple of dogs that are always they get in their business. It's like super frustrating. I'm on my leashes and they're bugging my dogs, and I'm like, okay. But you're right.